You are listening to the Mountainside Podcast, and our guest for this episode is my good friend Mike Villano, better known as Mike V. It has been some time since we were able to sit down and catch up, if ever. Mike's an amazing dude. I love being around this guy. This was a great conversation, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Do a show call, I won't. I'll just come up.
Well, I appreciate you bunking the call, dude, to come up here and hang out with me, man. I've been wanting to get you in here for a minute. It's fucking good seeing your ass.
You too.
You know, fuck, it was crazy I ran into you when I did, because I never work locally, right? And I got asked by this band to come out, and they're like, hey, we need, backline or whatever, and just kind of some supervision.
Yeah.
And I think I ended up just dealing with trucks because it was bullshit. Yeah, just pull this boom arm around wherever you want.
And keep it low.
So yeah, you got enough in your headphones?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, plenty.
Yeah, if it's too much, let me know too. We can turn it down.
No, it's good.
But yeah, no, I was like, fuck. I looked across like the arena floor or the convention floor, and I was like, I know this motherfucker from. I mean, you're pretty easy to spot, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, I think that's Mike. So I went over and I was like, Mike, do you, Bobby Marshall or whatever. I can't even remember what I said to you. And it was like, we ended up bullshitting for 45 minutes or something, right? And I hadn't seen you in 25 years.
Yeah, you'll have to tell me because my memory's shot.
Right.
Either what I've done to myself or what other people have done to me.
Right. So I know you from the days of former Chaos Theory, right? Like,
so like Alien Pimp, the band.
Yeah. I mean, I knew you from Chaos Theory, but then you had like a little run with like the Cottonmouth Kings for a bit, right? And...
Yeah. So my first band was Inhumanity.
Okay.
That's when I was 17. Well, I started at 17, and there was a band playing in North Denver. And back then it was like there was a show at the Pecos Community Center on the north side in Denver. And it just amazes me nowadays when I think back because we smoked cigarettes, had kegs,
right?
Obviously some weed, and it was in a community center for kids.
What year was that? Like,
oh my goodness,
90s?
I was 17. Here we go.
Well, how old are you right now?
51.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, dude, you don't look like you've aged a bit, bro. You look fucking awesome, Mike. Yeah. You must be staying in shape.
I do lots of stuff health-wise, fitness-wise. I kind of have what I call stretch and strengthening. I took it kind of from yoga and meditation and kind of working out and stretching and calisthenics. And I kind of made my own thing.
Nice.
And that's something I'd like to talk about in depth. Maybe.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just complimenting. Hey, cheers to 50. What'd you say, 50?
Yeah, here, I'm going to try this Breckenridge.
Yeah.
Repping the local. I wanted to see what it tastes like. Neat. But no, it's something that I would like to maybe get into podcast and stuff myself because I have a lot that I'd like to kind of point out
Cheers
to people.
That. Yeah.
Cheers.
Well, shit, man, you got a spot right here. So
that Breckenridge is pretty good.
It's not bad, huh?
Yeah,
I'm drinking it straight up just on the rocks,
I mixed it with the Jocko Go, and
we've been crushing these, dude. Like they just sent me 4 cases of it. We're going through this like fucking crazy. I can't be in the I can't come in the studio and work and not have one of these because they have and this isn't a commercial, but they have nootropics in them too. You know anything about that?
I know the term.
It's like brain. It's shit for your brain.
That's
right,
good.
Dude? So it makes you think better, cognitively better. Yeah, no, they're
Can
good.
always use
and
that.
some clean energy,
Very nice.
But yeah. So yeah, 50. How old? 51.
Just one.
Fuck yeah. That's awesome, man. So yeah, we were talking about the community center, the Pecos Community Center.
So back then it was a term we used. Thrash music.
Okay.
It was like heavy metal and punk kind of met. somewhere there. And
still some of my favorite to this day.
it kills me because I saw a band on stage, and back then it was cool if the band just didn't have a singer.
Yeah.
They were just doing instrumentals. And I went up at the end. I had a huge like cotton candy mohawk back then. It like came down to here.
Really?
And it just went up and it was long in the back. And it was this band, I think they already had the name Inhumanity. But I went up to the bassist. He seemed like kind of the leader, and I said, "Hey man, I'm your singer," and he laughed me off like whatever. But that was the beginning, and it was just real fast thrash music, and that went well for a while. Then when they kind of fell apart, we fell apart. Myself and some other guys in other big bands put together Chaos Theory. And that was kind of like a group of all-stars. Everyone kind of knew like this is going to be badass.
Right.
And Chaos Theory was definitely just that. We had slow songs, fast songs, hard songs, soft songs, hip-hoppy songs, just across the board. So it was very Chaos Theory. We jumped in and just started playing opening for acts.
Were you guys touring at that point? I mean, did you go straight into touring, or were you
No.
playing like local scenes or?
Well, that's one thing I've never really gotten to do was actually tour. Beside one time we did a road trip from here to New York and then up into Toronto and back.
That's fucking
which
touring.
was so fun. Right. But other than that, it was always, my wife won't let me go, or their job or their addiction or what I could never get guys to go. And so I would make my own shirts, make sure we had a demo, stickers. I would fly myself to a convention in LA or places around there, and I would just go by myself and I would hang out with all the big guys, Body Count, Biohazard, Guar. The lists go on, but I would just take myself out and be like, if you guys aren't going, I am. Which led to pretty much the downfall of Chaos Theory. And again, I was to a next level. So I said I was really getting into hip hop more and more and more, as I had been all my life. But so I came out with a solo album, Mike V, Game Face Vision.
I remember that. Yeah. Shit.
And
you're taking me down memory lane now.
Yeah, I actually had George Clinton in one of my songs called Alien Pimpin'. And I had just finished Alien Pimpin' at one of our other studios where we edited. And I don't remember if I knew George Clinton was there or if my producer, Count D, had him there and I didn't know. But I went in and we ran it. And, with Pro Tools, you can extend or make tracks shorter. So we just looped that all night. And I think we took like maybe a segue or something that was instrumental and looped it or something. But George Clinton recorded for 12 hours straight. I got there at midnight and he didn't quit till noon. And I found that out when I woke up at noon because I passed out at 8 in the morning or 9 or something. And he just kept going all night, just on the same song. And he would do low down and he'd talk like, George Clinton. And then he'd do the singy parts. He also had his other singer, Belita Woods, there. And so she did some parts. And so the song ended up being longer with an intro and things like that. But so one thing that happened with the Game Face Vision solo project is I realized, having been in Inhumanity and then Chaos Theory live, where's everybody at? There's no one.
Kind of a missing energy, right?
Yeah, and so I got some backup dancers. an entourage crew. They'd put on Jason hockey masks, and
Would you have like a DJ playing it in the background so you could MC?
Yeah. The DJ that worked on the album was the DJ live.
Okay.
And we also I can't remember if DJ Dijon was his name. What up? I don't know where you're at. Haven't seen you. I don't even know if you're alive. But different variations of that. And then again, kind of it did its thing and kind of fell apart. And then I started the band Alien Pimp. Having had a song Alien Pimpin', and then, with music or artists, things, authors, things like that, you kind of come up with characters and alter egos that are entertaining, that allow you things to talk about and ways to expand on whatever you talk about when you spit or when you sing or whatever it is,
Yeah, I remember. Was it song "Rollin'" or "Rollin' Till the Wheels Fall
Yeah,
Off"?
so it was "Rollin'," and then it was actually "Rollin' Till the Motherfucking Wheels Fall Off."
You guys used to bring down the fucking house with that, man. There's people breaking bar tables and chairs and like.
Yeah,
you'd be in a decent environment, and that song would come on, and it was complete chaos and just a normal nightclub.
Well, and I feel like everyone could vibe with the "Rollin' Till the Wheels Fall Off." Like, no matter how good life is, it's always tough, and that's what we're all trying to do.
And you sold it as a frontman so well too. Like, I think it was a lot of that, like your energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even in the early acts and shows and stuff that we did, a lot of times a good part of our show was in between the songs, like, what's he gonna say?
Right.
It would be the girls in the front, or it would be the assholes in the back, or some man. One time at Herman's, I remember this
Herman's Hideaway is where I remember the most, dude, because we spent so much time. That's where I know you from, and spent so much time there, and then. I think the Gothic a couple times in the green rooms or whatever. We were doing,
As far as Denver, pretty much name it.
Yeah.
It's funny working at Red Rocks because the only place I think I didn't play was Red Rocks.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah. Are you thinking about bringing it back at all, or have you talked to anybody, or is that chapter in your life kind of done? Because here's something crazy. Everybody was kind of like, it just kind of stopped. And then everybody was like, "What happened to Mike?" And I was like, "Fuck, I don't know." And then one of the papers put out something that you had died or some shit, right? Or like, didn't they?
No,
was there
but
something.
Well, I got jumped, and I don't know if this is it, but this is the closest thing I could think of. I think I did have people come up to me at different points, like, "I heard you were dead," and I don't remember what that was.
That's strange, right?
I may have died one time. I got jumped when I was like 26.
It's not funny, but yeah.
No, I mean, it is because I'm here.
Right.
It's kind of the same reason I think I didn't get rich and famous, because I'm like, if they would have handed the young, crazy me like millions.
Yeah.
And, on the road and everything.
I went down the path that I did too, because I would have been the same way.
Yeah.
I would have been in prison or underground, probably.
Hey, folks, if you're still alive and you're upset with what didn't come through in your life, just be happy you're here, because you don't know what was going to happen.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're still here and you're still breathing and you're still talking, like, that's what you want. Don't get depressed about what you do or don't have.
Cheers to that.
Because, here we are.
Yeah.
Spitting.
Hanging out with old friends.
And that really is kind of the way I look at things now. Is I feel like there's more to come in my life, and maybe it's bigger than all the shows I did, which I don't know how that could happen, because they were good.
It was so much fun, man.
So many good stories.
I made sure no matter what, whether we were opening up for you or you were opening up for us or whatever the situation was.
And your band was...
So I worked with a bunch of different bands. I was never on stage. I was always on the management side of stuff.
But was it the Evergreen Kids?
Yeah, there was a bunch of Mountain Kids. So it was Boondock Saints for a little bit, and then there was that band Pinochle, and
definitely played shows.
Reggae rock bands. Do you remember the band Genial at all? Drew and
no.
They were a 3-piece.
There was a punk band when, like, I think they were a little. Max was, I think, the singer or something, but they were from Evergreen. I can't remember their name, but yeah, there was an Evergreen band.
There's a lot of musicians that have come out of Evergreen, believe it or not. Like Brandon Barnes, the drummer from Rise Against, and I think Scott Weiland did a short stint here, and wasn't one of the Cottonmouth Kings went to school at Evergreen, I think.
That would be news to me.
Yeah, I think it was D-Loke or something, or
I don't know.
I don't remember, but yeah, I don't know, man. It was it's kind of an artsy place, man, especially for music and hardcore too, because I was telling the story on the podcast a couple days ago. 90s when I was going to school here, there was a ton of people fleeing LA because of the LA riots. And a lot of them were like kind of well-off families, right? So they moved into like these mountain communities and kind of found like sanctuary here. And they're like, we'll take our kids to like a mountain town.
Sure.
And they'll be much more
safe.
And they just brought that LA influence here. So that's how I learned about like Black Flag and Dead Kennedys and like, all this old school punk, and then bands like Pennywise, and it just went down this rabbit hole. And it was funny, the first time I ever heard like a punk cassette, right? I was like, this shit sucks, man. Like this fucking, what the fuck are you playing?
Low grade.
Like, I was all into like Metallica and like maybe a little bit of Misfits and like, that kind of like Pantera, like those bands of that era. And then I went to a show for the first time at the Ogden, and I was like, I'm sold. I'm 100% in. Where do I get my piercings?
Raw.
What? Yeah. When can we go back? And it was like $3, and I had the best time of my life, like knocking people over all night and just sweat dripping from the ceiling, and like it was the shit, man.
Yeah. Rustic.
And then I pretty much grew up in that venue, seeing just band after band, and this was like pre-Warped Tour days and stuff, so it was totally a different vibe.
I think Chaos Theory played the second Warped Tour.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. And it was at Folsom Field, Boulder.
Nice.
We played on stage or next to Limp Bizkit. What's the one with Mark? Sugar Tooth, was it? Mark McGuire, I think, was the singer's name. He had like the white.
It's like "Come On Baby" or "Come On Pretty Lady" or something like that.
But
right?
No Doubt, Limp Bizkit, all those guys, Two Skinny Jays. I don't know if anyone knows them. They never quite made it, but they were zany. Yeah. But yeah, played alongside of all those guys.
That first Warped Tour, because I had for years had been going to the Ogden to see punk bands, like NoFX and Pennywise and No Use for a Name, and this like you could go down the list of all the SoCal, and they love stopping in Denver too, because it had a scene, right?
Yeah.
And that theater is so rad, they're old porno movie theaters, I think is what they were, right?
I'm not sure.
Back in the day, right?
I'm not sure. I've never heard the story behind them
and stuff like that. But it's so intimate, right? Like it's a fucking great place to see a show.
Yeah.
And there wasn't.
I've sold them out. So
they're like 1,000 people.
Yeah,
or
it's
something,
not a
right?
lot.
It's not a ton. The Gothic's really nice, but yeah, they. So when the first Warped Tour bill came out, and there was at like Adams County Fairgrounds or something like that, I think.
I don't think I was at the first one. I actually could have been.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Dude, the lineup, it was like we did the math on it, right? It was like 40 bands or something, and my ticket was like $22. It was like 4 cents a band or something.
Right.
Yeah, it was insane. It was like a nickel a band or something. I was like, this is fucking insane. And it was everybody I wanted to see in that lineup.
Yeah.
Plus they had like freestyle motocross shit happening, skateboard stuff, like.
And that's always been my favorite. I owned a hip hop club called Chances.
Okay.
From like 2009 to 16 or something like that. We moved a few times, but it was full on. And people don't name their clubs a hip hop club. It's not a good idea.
Right.
But I was like, I'm going to. When we moved from the Golden Triangle down in the Art District, we realized come Friday, Saturday, about 11 midnight, it would just drain. And it was just far enough from Lodo downtown that people wouldn't stick around, so we moved down into downtown. What was I getting at as far as
we were talking about
so
bands
when
and clubs.
when I had my downtown clubs, one at a time, but so we moved to the second one, and we were a total nuisance. Like, white girls would walk, they would cross the street and go to the other side of the street and then back around, because my porch would just be hood.
Yeah.
There'd be 50 people on the porch that didn't even care if they got in, because they'd be out there just bullshitting and talking to the girls walking by. And so that's why people would just walk around.
And lower downtown kind of started to change around then, right? Like the 20th and Market area started to get a little bit different, right? Like it was.
Well, and I think that was even before that time that Lodo was really bad. I wasn't in Lodo per se. Mm-hmm. I was more like by Spear, like 15th and Blake and Market and Larimer and all that. But I loved putting shows together that incorporated not just music, but fashion, whatever we could bring in to make it multicultural and just different stuff.
I'm pretty sure we did one of your shows at the Gothic with one of the bands I was playing with, and they had artists on stage like painting while. Do you remember
Probably.
that? I can't remember what that was, but it was an awesome show. I mean, it was sold out, fucking ass to elbow in there, and just it was a cool environment, man.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I think they like auctioned off the paintings, or I don't remember what they did, But
at the first property that we had chances, it was a sports bar and grill, but at night the DJ comes in, and it's kind of like you make it look like something for your day crowd and stuff, but at night just pull the plug,
Right.
And so I did a fashion show, but I had it start early, unannounced, and had all the models in the common area, like by the pool tables. We're serving food. The girls are in like bar stools and stuff, and they're getting their hair done and their makeup, and that was part of the event. And it worked out really good because you had all their friends show up, or the photographers, the press,
turned into
things
a scene,
like that.
Yeah.
And it just, the girls are there getting their hair done right in front of you, and makeup, and maybe you see the girls would come in. We kind of schedule it to where they were coming in staggered, so the ladies aren't waiting the whole time. And so you'd see a girl getting her hair curled, and there'd be a girl coming in and like in her sweatpants, t-shirt, and sneakers. And then you'd see her later all done up, mini skirt, So
but you could view the whole process.
Yeah,
right?
and you could see like this is where it starts and ends, and it would make such a long day and night. You'd have those sales of food, like everyone comes early, like this can be a long night. So we had just the most crazy menu, just like peppers and cheese and bacon, and just go nuts with the menu. But those were really fun. Just try, maybe bring a hat company in, or we had a 303 barber shop come in, and they'd have a lot of like real hip hop hats and t-shirts and stuff like that. So that was always fun to just have it like
cool.
multi.
Before this, we were talking about, and I want to hear the rest of the story. You were talking about almost dying and getting jumped. Like, what happened there?
So I was in Chaos Theory and the Mohawk and stuff, and I got a tattoo in Las Vegas when I was 18 on my head. And a lot of this stuff has been redone numerous times, and God, I hate to go back and get it done again because it fades on your head.
It happens
folks.
with age, right? Like I got some that I need to go get reworked,
and I've had some of my head redone 2 and 3 times, and let me tell you, it's not as fun the second and third time.
Really?
Yeah, because you're not getting a tattoo,
right? You're just getting it cleaned up a little bit, right?
And maybe some of the stuff has actually changed to where it faded and it was an old style. And had a new artist come in and say, we're going to change the mouth like this to the head, things like that.
Right.
But so point being is, I was bald, and I was getting tattoos on my head and my arms and things like that. But I was playing funky music, and back then, skinheads was actually a thing. Like, if it's a thing now,
God, I sure hope not, man.
and I heard just recently, like this last week, that they're like popping up in places.
How could
I don't know. I don't know who's going to hold on to that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's wild, man.
I don't know how bored you get.
We've come so fucking far, you know, and it's like,
and still,
yeah,
fucking with it. Like, it's really like race is still a thing.
But I get it on the other end too, because like, dude, I'm going bald, man.
Right.
And I'm not going to be that old dude with like the fucking, you know, like
right, the bull,
the
horseshoe.
Yeah, with the sunroof or the convertible top or the comb over or any of that shit, right?
Not clean it up.
So yeah, I shave it. So like, but occasionally I'll walk into a spot and it's like, people are looking at me like, who's this big motherfucker with a shaved head?
I know.
So it's
and you're
kind of
like
a, dude, I'm not. And I mean, I would imagine that you get that even worse with.
Yeah, sometimes people,
the tattoos and stuff.
And I get it. Like they assume. I had a buddy just tell me recently. He said, you know, when you first meet you, you're articulate and well spoken. So the first thing you're kind of like, he's done time. And like read books, right? And I was like, oh shit, that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
Like I never. Damn it, I'm just trying to be the most I could be, you know.
I love it, dude.
But
and you're a good fucking person.
So
man.
we're gonna
You've
get to this
well,
damn whooping I took. So
yeah, we're in no hurry, by the way. This is our
I
show.
was, you know, I was high profile, and being white, bald, tattooed, but funky, skinheads didn't like it. You know what I mean? I always had a problem with them, and I shopped downtown Capitol Hill. I had the Creepers. I had the Docks. I actually had a homegirl, Krista, who worked at Fashion Disaster. And Fashion Disasters back in the day, like it was street punk. Nobody heard of Doc
like
Martens.
before like Hot Topic type era, right?
Yes.
Like, there was another spot off of Broadway or Colfax, right? That was like that.
Well, there was the one cat that was
Streets of
across the
London or
street
something like
from him. That was a bar.
Oh, yeah,
Streets
that
of London
is a bar.
still there.
Is it?
But there was another one, Emmy Jimmy.
Okay.
And that guy actually got
that's
shot
funny.
and killed in like a violent thing.
Really?
But so I saw.
can't even get to this fucking story.
I know we're gonna be here all day.
Yeah. It's all right.
But Krista was my brother's nurse, and she was punk, like she was a skinhead, and she was bi, so she had a boyfriend, and she loved women. Like she brawled, you know. She was crazy, but she worked at Emmy Jimmy, or what did I say, Fashion Disaster. And back then, from the time I was like 16, I sold weed. Like I flossed as a kid,
Right.
like brought it into my adulthood. But I would give her like an ounce of weed, and she'd just open the door when they were closed and be like, run through. Right. And I would get whatever, shoes. And a lot of times it was probably the day of a show or the day before a show. So I would get all the freshest unseen shit from NY, you know.
Yeah, that was the thing about those, is they were kind of like underground, like who knows where that shit was coming from, right? Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely, I would have to say most of it was coming from like New York City,
right?
Fire. So, you know, I would come out on stage. I had this one outfit that was red, white, and blue, flag, stars and stripes, spandex, full length spandex pants with like a long sleeve button down, red, white, and blue, stars and stripes shirt to go with it.
Hell yeah.
With the pointy creepers. Like I just had the most outlandish clothes back then, you know? So, so we would go to the Skyline Cafe, and it was this really cool, it must have been an old Western bar. You know, when you went in, like all the railings, all the floor, everything was old wood. The bars were old wood. It was really big. It had pool tables on this side. It had, you know, it had a back porch that actually had a huge stage on it. And so we'd play inside or outside, different shows. And I probably played there with Inhumanity as well as Chaos Theory. But I think there were at least 2 times that I was there that the skinheads, and it was usually like one of the girls that had a problem with me. And then I'd be like, go fuck yourself or whatever. Like I just never in my whole life really put up with a whole
I've
whole
never
lot
known
of
you with a filter. I've never known you to be a bad guy, but I've never known you with a filter either.
And that's the thing. I'm not real tough. Like, you know, I know how to take care of myself, but I'm not a huge fighter, and I always had really tough people around me, so I never had to.
Right.
But the day would go and I wasn't leaving. Like whatever kind of stink came up, I'm like, I'm not leaving. Like I'm not scared gonna leave, because they would have like their uncle. Maybe they came from Evergreen. I don't know. But they're like, I'd be walking and someone would just sneaker me from behind or confront me and like without me knowing, punch me in the face or, you know, something.
Yeah.
But this one night, it was my birthday. And I think this was after Chaos Theory and maybe before I started the solo project, because I feel like I wasn't in a band at the time, but we had a keg, like a pony keg of Newcastle at my house. And I had all the girls and all the guys with me, like all the people that I love were with me. And we went to the Skyline to finish out the night. And I'm just having a Mike V night, like playing pool, winning every single game, tiptoe dancing on the pool table every time I won. Got on stage with the band. I forget the band's name, but like these young kids, you know, they were 5-10 years younger than me. Jumped on and did a freestyle verse, or probably 3 different ones, you know. Yeah. And I remember walking around at one point, carelessly asking people if they had cocaine or they knew where to get it. I think that might have had to do something with the night. I remember some guys just like glaring at me, you know, a table of guys. So I have no memory of anything that happened with the actual situation. And I can only go by what I was told by my lovely friends that were with me. But the story was that it had closed probably well after everyone left, because you know when you're in the light, you stay super late, you know, and whatever. But the story was, I was leaving with a handful of my girlfriend's friends, kind of all in arms leaving, and a guy came out and said, you know, was talking to the girls or something. I said, hey man, you know, just let us go. We're going, you know, we're leaving. We're going home. And about this time, he sucker punched me. And a group of guys came out of who knows where, and they just stomped me. You know, I guess I was down on the ground, unconscious, being kicked in the head and face. I know none of this. The first thing I remembered from being at the bar was 2 days later. It was a Sunday, and Tuesday at some point, I woke up, opened my eyes, and I said, why is everyone crying? And they wouldn't let me go to the bathroom for the longest time. And when I did, I walked in and my whole face was swollen, my head.
Oh, shit.
I had stitches, like, I don't remember
so
how many
stitches.
In the
hospital? Or?
Oh, yeah. Stitches in my face, you know, eyes both black, nose probably broken.
God damn.
I found out 3 days later at home that my 2 bottom front teeth were pushed out of my gums. And I was so beat up that the hospital didn't even know. Well, 3 days later, when I went to the hospital, they said, it's been too long, and so we can't push your teeth back in. So they had to cut them off.
And that's why you got the grill.
Well, I actually had a grill, a bottom grill.
Oh, you did?
Before then, for years.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if I had it in or I must not have had it in. I guess I didn't. But I did have this lip ring back then too. And I think that had to do with, you know, you put some stainless steel between your teeth and a boot.
It's not good. Yeah.
So, but
it's driving a nail into a piece of wood.
Yeah. So I did have to pamper these bottom teeth ever since. And that was, you know, like half my life ago, 25 to 20, I think it was 25 years ago, because I'm 51. So,
damn, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Again.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lost a friend to that. Got jumped and didn't make it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they never caught the guys, because they ran. It was when you're chasing multiple people. Good luck, right?
Yeah, with a parking lot clearing, and that was another part of the story is I clearly drank lots of alcohol that night.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the story I was told is that I was in the ambulance, and I guess I was violently screaming at either the paramedics or the cops or something. And again, like I was either unconscious or my homegirl Monica said I died, and I don't know. But I was unconscious on the ground with like a river or an amount of blood like on the street, and they put like toilet paper rolls under my head, and those were soaked. I mean, I had gone through some kind of trauma and knocked out cold.
Well, just losing that much blood can make you pass out, right?
Right.
Like there's a multitude of things. Not to mention, I'm sure you had extensive head trauma and probably a concussion.
Who knows how much of the way I am now has to do with what happened then.
That's why, fuck, man, I avoid conflict like no other.
I'm telling
I
you.
used to look for it when I was younger, but now, especially now, you don't know who the fuck is trained in what.
I'm telling you, it could be a little kid and he'll whip your ass and hem you up.
Yeah.
Like, tap, tap, tap.
Not to mention you're dealing with fucking concrete. You start thinking about the environment as soon as you become a father, right? You're like, shit, that's going to hurt. You know what I mean?
Or if it's a pussy in a car with a gun.
Who knows?
That ain't,
Yeah.
He don't know why he's been carrying that, but now you're in his face.
Yeah. And you just say the wrong thing. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah,
so,
no, I'm glad you're
so
here,
I
bro.
was saying, I guess I was in the ambulance, and so I got my lights turned off and woke up, beat the fuck out of, and I guess I was like having a fit with the paramedics, and on the cops' radios, they're like, we got the guys, and we have them pulled over, and the cop in the ambulance was like, let them go.
What?
Yeah. They let them go.
No.
I didn't do shit to anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're right. Yeah, that's fucked up, man.
Again, I didn't have time. There were times when I think I remember they.
I got beat up by some Denver cops one time.
Oh yeah, I haven't had that.
I've
always been on the
cop. I might have to tell you that off the record because I don't know what could come back and. But yeah, they put it to me pretty good. And then when I saw the DA the next morning trying to get checked out of Denver County, they were like, I was like, this is not going to be good. I'm sure I got charges of some sort, right? And
right. You get assault charges when they whip your ass.
You're free to go. And I had nothing, like no T-shirt, not like how they give you a bag of your shit at the end. There was nothing in it. Do you remember that club, The Church?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, is that still around?
Yeah. Did we play there?
Is it? Okay, Sarah knows. She's a younger girl. Have you been there lately, Sarah? Is it still cool or what's up?
Yeah, it's still pretty cool. It is actually. It's got some good vibes. And it's got the downstairs area, where they'll have, you can go down there, and hear some live music.
No, I kind of remember. I think when it first opened, God, that place was crazy. The bar was like at the altar. And didn't they make them change it or something?
I don't remember. I know that it was one of those multi-level, like it's not 1, 2, 3. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, it was like going into a castle. Almost,
you could go, you could if you really knew, you could get way up.
Yeah.
They used to serve sushi.
What?
Yeah, they had a sushi bar.
Damn.
And speaking
I don't remember. When I was in there, I wasn't looking for sushi. I was looking for something else, So
speaking about in good with cops, my son's godfather was one of my best friends, Mike Jimenez. R.I.P. brother. I'm holding it down for you.
Just the mic.
We would go to Shotgun Willie's, which I used to spend at one point in my life.
Okay. I remember Shotguns.
7 nights a week. We used to hold it down there, but we would go to Shotguns for Sunday, Sunday fun day. It was always like huge 25-ounce beers, or I forget at the time, but he was a Denver cop. And we would go to Shotgun Willie's, and it's real hard to get out of there, especially when the bartenders,
you know all the guys there, all the girls there.
they know you. But it was always this thing where the church served sushi half price until midnight.
Okay.
But we were at Shotguns, and we'd try to get there by midnight. So and as long as you were there before midnight,
you could order, right?
Yeah. So it's probably 11:45. And we're at Shotgun Willie's, and him being a Denver cop, he would jump in his car and I would follow him. And he would get it.
So like he was on duty or just had driving his car?
But he knew that he was a Denver cop.
Yeah.
And we would go down 8th Avenue like 80 miles an hour. And we'd slow down for lights, but he would be ahead of me. And I don't know, maybe like cops understand lights better. But he would give the okay with his lights, or I don't know how he did it. But we would fly down 8th Avenue so fucking fast. And sometimes we didn't make it.
That's like Broadway sometimes coming home from some of those bars off of Broadway is like, I can't even remember. I remember like Three Kings and some of those spots like that. But yeah, if you time the lights, right? The lights are set up if you do 30 miles an hour, 35, right?
You could just
hit
roll.
every light. You don't stop at a light.
Yeah.
But it also works if you're doing 60.
Yeah.
It's
double
or
time.
Whatever.
You're just going faster than they could change.
You don't want to get up to 70 though, because you'll get slowed down. You know what I mean? God, 2:00 in the morning or some bullshit like that. Yeah. So I don't know. Did you grow up in Colorado then? Because we've never actually been able to sit down and talk where it wasn't an environment like you just explained of, girls or live music going or
just catching up
chaos.
To
I
now.
don't think we've ever sat down in a quiet room where it was just like dedicated to a conversation, which is cool.
Yeah.
So
I was born on 29th and Raleigh.
Okay.
I was born in a hospital, but I grew up at 29th and Raleigh, which is North Denver. Yeah. Just blocks up from Sloan's Lake. And I did pretty good in school, kind of gifted and talented shit until about 6th grade. And then
makes sense. It's all, you're painting the perfect picture right now.
Yeah. It was just going down fast in 6th grade. And my parents were separated. My dad lived in Lakewood. So I moved to Lakewood for like the second half of 6th grade and got in a fight with the bully the second day. It was so funny. I went home the first day and I told my brother, my older brother, rest in peace, just passed recently, Lou Villano. I said, I went to school in the morning. They must have known that a new kid was coming. Because like the first day on the playground, all the kids surrounded me and the neighborhood or the school tough guy wanted to fight me. So I told my brother, I said, well, what do I do? And he said, well, if you get confronted tomorrow and you're in that position where you're toe to toe, he said, tell him, if you want to fight me, you swing first. So next day, if you want to fight me, swing first. He said, no, you. Bam! I actually had teachers that came up to me and they were like, thank you.
Really?
Like you did the right thing. That kid needed to learn a lesson or whatever. We ended up really good friends.
That's cool. Yeah, that's funny how that works out. I've had friends like that too, where like we fucking hated each other to the point where you're ready to draw blood. And
too much in common.
Next thing you know, you're best friends, by the end of the night. So good shit.
Yeah. And it was funny too, because growing up in North Denver, it was white and Mexican. Mm-hmm. And Lakewood clearly, especially back then, was very white. So
it was kind of really like a suburb back then, right? It was still kind of like, you might catch some horses and shit out there.
Yeah. I mean, that was a long time ago. We're not going to keep talking about that. But it was kind of the joke with the kids I went to school with. Like, I'm going to go to somewhere where everyone is light-handed and,
right.
The whole white shtick. The first kid I encountered was half Mexican, half black. So, But that was...
So, are you Italian then? I'm assuming with the last name? Or?
Irish Italian.
Okay.
And it's funny because Villano, people are like, Italian, but I'm actually more Irish than Italian.
Okay.
And I'm sure if I did a test, it wouldn't even. They'd
Yeah,
be
I
like,
had
no,
one of
you're
those
actually some other shit.
Right? No, I got one of those tests. It was crazy. I had no idea that because I don't know my dad.
Yeah.
So I had no idea I had as much Italian, or I didn't know my dad's background. I know who my dad is, but
Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy. It came back. I'm like 60% Italian. I'm like, how does this fucking work? I was like, oh, okay. It kind of starts to make sense. Like, yeah. Some of it.
Is it okay if I hit the vape pen?
100%, dude.
Sweet.
Do whatever you want, man.
Yeah.
So
it's cool. My daughter just hit me up today. Her husband, I guess he smokes a lot of cigarettes or whatever, and I think he had asthma or something. But I tried to get him to try this the other day. It was at my 2 granddaughters' birthday party.
okay.
And
You got grandkids?
yeah,
Dude, hell
it's
yeah.
crazy, dude.
Grandpa Mike, dude.
Boom.
Here's that.
Hey,
That's
let's
cool.
stop it with Grandpa
Yeah.
Mike. Her husband,
It's the coolest fucking grandpa I know,
Yeah.
bro. So like, don't take offense to that.
yeah. So it's her new husband, Joshua, and he was like, I met him recently at my brother's funeral, but he said, man, I can't call you Mike. He said, how about Pops? And I was like, I could fuck with Pops.
Yeah.
I'll be Pops, you know. But she just hit me up today, and she's like, what kind of vape do you smoke, and what this and that. I tried to get him to smoke it.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about cigarette smokers, if you try to get them to smoke that vape, they cough every time.
Really?
Like when it just blows out because that cigarette,
shit.
yeah, and your cilia or whatever in your throat is just not having it.
Is that just nicotine or is it weed?
It is. No, it's
Okay.
just nicotine.
Yeah.
I'm not that big of a pot smoker. Just I like to be clear, you know,
Yeah, I
work,
do too,
things
man.
like that. I kind of like to do it.
I like there's a time and a moment for it,
Yeah.
for sure, for me. Like
Yeah.
if it's a long tour bus ride or something I used to, but like I've always been a drinker and I just like clarity, right? Like,
right. I like how you put that together, drinking and clarity.
Yeah.
This is nice. Like, hey, no brown,
Yeah.
clear. But the thing about vape, nicotine, THC, that is the good thing about THC vape is you could have it on you. And, you know, sometimes in a working situation or a family situation or somewhere where you're not
You're in a
trying to
stressful
chief
environment.
up and
Yeah.
get high and go there, but you could just hit that vape just that little bit and you're like,
I agree 100%.
this is medicine.
Have you ever seen
This
the
is awesome.
PAX vaporizers?
Packs.
I have one of those. You can put flour in it. So you take flour, bud, and
Right.
you put it in the bottom of it. I think you can put hash in it too, but they're fucking awesome.
And it vapes.
And it's about the size. It's a little bit bigger than what you got in your hand right there.
Yeah.
It's not much bigger. And it's fucking badass.
So it's
dude.
like one of those volcanoes or something.
It is.
Where,
but you're getting
where
the pure
you get
flour.
just the vape.
It just
Yeah,
sits down there and
that's
cooks
nice.
it. And then it's super easy to clean. All you do is just take the little bottom off of it. It's magnetic.
Yeah.
And it comes with like a little scraper that's also a key ring. And
But
you
it's
just
the flour's still in flower form, right?
Yeah. Well, you put it in there as bud, right? You can grind. It works best if you like grind it up.
Right.
Right. And make it a little bit finer. But I've just shoved full buds in there. And that's like the perfect thing too, because you can now that you can control how much THC is in weed when you go to the dispensaries, right?
Right.
You
Kinda.
can have like it's way different, right? Like when I was growing
Yeah.
up, it was like that Mexican shake weed or whatever. Like
Right.
you had to like
Brick.
pick the seeds out of it.
brick.
Brickweed, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, don't smoke the seeds because you'll be sterile or whatever, and all that kind of.
When I was
crazy
in
shit.
like 5th or 6th grade,
and you wouldn't even get high. Now you fucking some of this shit sends you to the moon,
I
bro.
mean, we did. But no, but yeah,
But you
not
had
the
to
same
smoke
kind
a
of high.
lot,
Not the
yeah.
same kind of high.
Yeah,
not
no.
like now. You hit something on the wrong day at the wrong time, the wrong weed, and you'd be like, "Fuck,
Right.
what did I do?"
You know what's wild is we just did a podcast with John Norris.
Yeah,
Super rad fucking dude.
that
He's,
sounds familiar, and I can't. Oh,
He's a
Three Kings? No,
No, he's a
That was-
California game warden that was busting illegal cartel grows up in like
has
NorCal.
he been on Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
and he talked about he didn't really have that job,
Yeah, he
and
was
he
just
ended
like,
up
He was
dealing
supposed
with
to be
that.
touching, like, checking hunting licenses and shit. And next thing you know, he's combating like full on like SWAT teams to go after these cartels. And it's crazy. Like, he wasn't like anti-weed or anything when I was talking to him. It was just more like, it was more about the environment, right? Because they smuggle in all these pesticides that kill all the animals and fuck up the waterways. Not to
and
mention
the criminal side
the
of
criminal side of it, right? They're out there killing animals, and they're doing it in a national forest, dude. They were building booby traps, like from Vietnam era, like these punji pits,
and
is what
innocent
he called them.
people are getting hurt.
Yeah, it was crazy. They'd been shot at. Like, a couple of his deputies had been shot a couple times, or the wardens had been shot, and they had to do these full on like tactical shit to like, and they still had trouble combating it, right? Like, these dudes were super smart.
Yeah, you're not even really gaining ground. You're just like.
And what was crazy is all that weed was ending up in the market, right? And it had all this pesticide on it that if you would touch it or some shit like that, you could get super sick or die.
That bad of pesticides.
Yeah, that bad. And I think by the time it got to where it was being sold, that it probably had burned off a little bit. But if you touched it on in the early stages,
so it was the people growing it that were putting that pesticide on it.
The cartels, to keep animals and all that sort of stuff on it.
So they're just like, we want the yield, and we don't care about the quality or the harm it does on people.
No, it's all about the yield.
It's just so we
money.
can finish the grow and get it out.
Now it's down to like a science, right? And then he was explaining that you have the legitimate growers that are so anti-cartel. Number one, it's cutting into their business, but above and beyond that, they're more of like the purity factor of it, right? Like, they want it in its purest form, or organic,
not grown around other farms.
And these pesticides that they're bringing in and all this neurotoxins and all this crazy shit, it's stuff that's not even illegal in the U.S. So they were smuggling that in too.
Oh, sure.
And it was killing like entire rivers of fish and fucking.
That word bothers me, neurotoxin.
Yeah.
It just like lock
it
you up. It
attacks your nervous system.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Nervous system is one of those things you can't really control it. It controls you.
100%.
I think it's from stagehand work, but my left pinky knuckle about a month or two ago, it was just aching, and I started rubbing it and shit, and it hasn't quit since. And I think I'm getting arthritis just in that knuckle. I was like, oh, this is arthritis.
Right.
Well, in the upper part of my finger, closer to my hand, if I rub it on something and just catch it, it's almost like a burning, like hot. And I think that's nerve communication. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Like,
dude, there's so much crazy shit. My father-in-law recently, that he has a genetic thing, and I can't remember what it's called, but he like gets tremors real bad, right?
Yeah.
And he's like former military, like had a full-on career in the military.
Yeah.
But
through it.
I mean, he got to the point, and his mom had it, to where it was like hard to eat and stuff like that, right? So they took this thing and attached it to his brain. It was like 4 surgeries. And then they stuck these electrodes or whatever, it's basically a computer, into his spinal cord at some point, and it's totally stopped that shit.
What?
Yeah.
Well,
it's like
all
some
right for that
Neuralink
one.
shit. Yeah.
I'm
It's
sure a lot of it
wild,
isn't
dude.
that advantageous.
Yeah. I'm like, you're going through this just to stop shaking. I mean, it's worked, but like, fuck, man. Just think about it. I mean, they had to drill holes in his head and fucking put wires in his brain, basically. Yeah. It's amazing what they can fucking do now.
It is.
It's
They got
pretty
that
wild.
Neuralink now that Elon Musk talking about. Fuck. I'm not
That
really
shit scares me,
I'm
dude,
not
a
really
little bit.
against it.
Yeah.
Like everything that we come across that's new, at one point you couldn't explained it to anybody or made them believe that was even a thing.
Yeah, like the iPhone.
At one point. No.
Yeah.
What a guy that I could talk about forever is Alan Watts.
Yeah.
I love Alan. Like
Sarah's
every day.
raising her arm over there too. Yeah, we're all on all this shit.
I swear, probably 10 times in a day, my mom, my friend, something, I'll be like, Alan Watts said. but it's,
That's how I'm about it. Andrew Huberman. Have you listened to his shit at all?
No.
Oh my God, dude. You got to go listen to his most recent podcast. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I think you might have brought him up to me, actually.
But there's a correlation between singing and dancing and neurosystems and speech, right? Like they all correlate. Like, so before, they think that there were songs before there were actual words, right? And then,
of course,
it's crazy. Like they were talking about how it doesn't transfer to animals. Like animals don't have that part of their brain to
except for the creative.
Except for like parrots and like, I guess hummingbirds have it too. They can, yeah.
I
They
see
use
parrots all
vocal
day.
type stuff, right? But they're also the only birds that can fucking dance. Like it's just mind blowing shit. Like every time I listen to it, I'm learning something new. My kids are listening to it, but a lot of health shit too. You know, like,
the guy you mentioned,
Andrew Huberman. It's called Huberman Labs, and he's cool as fuck too, man. He like I feel like he could sit down with you and me and have this conversation right now.
Yeah,
he used to be a pro skater. And then he turned like neuroscientist, and he kind of comes from that punk rock era. He's probably around the same age as you, or maybe
just cool, but like
fucking cool
likes to figure shit out.
But can sit down with like these crazy, mind blowing scientists, and has been. I think he's at Berkeley. Is that where he's from, Sarah?
I think it's Harvard.
Harvard. Yeah. So that shows what I know. I don't even.
I
can't even remember the school that he went to, but yeah, no, just he's very well presented.
He still does research there.
Right.
And stuff. Yeah, he still works with everyone in there.
It's cool. You should go listen to him and Jocko, this Jocko Fuel. I don't know if you ever listened to Jocko Willink. Jocko had him on.
Jocko, isn't that?
And he's been on
he
Rogan
like a military
few times
dude
too.
or something too?
Yeah, he's a former SEAL.
That dude's stacked, right? I can kind of picture.
Kind of has like that pro wrestler demeanor, like talks like, he's fucking
Jocko.
badass though. He's been great to us, man. Like
nice.
Super rad dude.
Nice. Well, his drink's good.
Yeah, it is good.
Sometimes with the energy drinks, like you mix it or whatever, and you're like, it's good, but
right.
And there's no but in this. There's no
it's
ass
awesome,
in it.
man. Well, the coolest part about it is it's a keto friendly thing. There's 0 sugar. Yeah. It's got fucking 10 calories in it, so it's not like you're slamming a Monster or something with like 40 grams of sugar.
Those Monsters, dude. They
nothing
taste,
against that. Like
the Green Monster, just the regular. I don't get into all the flavors. The Green Monster is so good at first for me, but then I'm like, man.
You know what I got addicted to when I was on tour? Because I did a bunch of stuff with Monster.
Yeah.
Is they used to make canned water. And it was in a Monster can. It was called Tour Water. And you would just slam. You'd be up on stage just fucking.
That's like that new one, Liquid Death.
Right.
That stuff's delicious.
It's the same shit, dude, but it was just water. And I got addicted to drinking water out of aluminum cans to where I would like go with withdrawal when I would get home. I'd be like, fuck, dude, why do I have to drink water out of this plastic bottle? So now I prefer to have it out of an aluminum like cold can or something.
The coolest thing I think about the Liquid Death is like it looks like you're drinking a beer.
Yeah.
The way they made the packaging. And I'm like, this is awesome because I'm always trying to better myself. Like, I shouldn't drink as much. Or,
it's perfect
things
for comedy
like that.
clubs and nightclubs.
But yeah,
and
you could
like
totally roll. Like if you have one at work or somewhere where you shouldn't have
not like
beer.
You're rolling around with an Avion bottle or you're fucking,
Well, like my friend was in the hospital and I brought him some Liquid Deaths and immediately the nurses were looking at me like, your friend just had a stroke and you're bringing him beers, you asshole.
Water.
Yeah. But it just went to show like it
they think it's a Four Lok or
I mean,
some
because
shit.
it's not a secret that holding a drink in your hand, there's a certain thing about it. You go to the bar, you're like, I got to get a drink in my hand. Like there's that feel of like, it's kind of like your Ed McMahon, it's your side guy, like.
Yeah. No, 100%. And it's hard for me to be in that environment and not have a drink.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard for me to sit here and not have a drink when you're drinking. I'm definitely a mirror when it comes to
and
that.
So
shit.
that I just, and I haven't quite put it into place, but I'm like, I should just get those Liquid Deaths and, have one. And it's like, I look like that guy, but
they're the shit, man. I'd love to have them as a sponsor if they're listening to this. And I'm sure you can use one too, Mike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're going to reach out to those guys because I'd love to have some shit like that. Because like when we were drinking those, like I said, those tour waters, just that, my other stick too, this is my jam. Like everybody's like, hey, you want a Starbucks? All the time. Everybody's going to Starbucks, especially in our industry or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm like, get me an ice water with extra ice. Dude, they have the best fucking water out of the tap because they filter it like 7 or 8 times. It's like
so it's whatever filter they have is
it's
I was
going
to say fire,
dude.
but
yeah,
it's water.
Try it, and it's free. And they're like, "What? You want just an ice water?"
Give me you're like, yeah, and you're actually stoked. You're like,
I've gone to Starbucks and bought some bullshit just so I could get an ice water before, and like,
right? Because they might be like, "Nah, dude, not for street people."
It's better than like going into the
it's
gas station or something, and then I give my kid whatever the chocolate covered raisins or whatever it is. Like.
The other day I got into my car. What, this Breckenridge vodka?
Yeah. Another one.
I got in my car the other day, and with stagehand work, like you could pick up a full bottle of water on the ground. Like it's everywhere.
Dude, it's fucking everybody grabs a bottle and then they take one sip out of it and then they're like, fuck, I don't know if that's mine or.
I was just going to say that's one of my that is my number one pet peeve on earth. Like it makes me think it makes me go into retro and I'm like, okay, so we process this water. We package it in plastic. I don't know if you guys heard about plastic, how bad it is. Then we take one fucking drink, cap it, and throw it away.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the dump. And I don't know, maybe I hope, because I think the plants or like the processing is getting better.
Just think about how it's been wasted.
But I'm hoping that they have people that sort at the dump and shit. And I think they do, though.
Really?
To an extent, I think they have conveyors, and I really hope so. But I'll be at work busy, and I'll grab 3, and before I throw them away, I'll pop all the tops and turn them up. At least I just can't believe how stupid people are. And again, the whole process, not just the douchebag that
and it pisses me off when they're on a road case or something and you need into it, or it's just like there's shit fucking everywhere. You trip on them.
But the big picture from conception. Like not the guy
this
that
shit
took
costs
a drink.
more than gas.
Right. But it's not just this guy.
Yeah.
It's people that we get water and we put it in a bottle and we package it, we drive it, we fly it. And places that you work in stage and who knows where else, we bring it in by the pallets.
Oh my God! Yeah, forklifts normally unload it, right?
And it's got to be at least 50% of the people that take a drink or drink half, and then because they set it next to someone else's, they're like, I'm not gonna. I've had times when I'm like, I don't give a fuck whose this was. I'll take, and I don't put it to my mouth, but I'm like, I'm drinking this one. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Like. But it's just
makes
amazing.
Your immune system stronger.
Yeah, 100. But I can't help but picture all these bottles in the dump around the world, and humans are taking water, what we need the most, and we're just bottling it and putting it in a pile, and waiting. I don't know how long it is that it takes for that.
Man. Like everybody loves living in a beautiful place too, but I think the biggest waste factor, like I was talking, we've had some agricultural specialists in. My buddy Jeff Smith, fucking amazing dude, like crazy degree in agricultural business and all this sort of stuff, and like they get a bad rap, right, for using water, and they're probably the most efficient about it, but everybody like watering their lawns, dude. They either overwater or like, just think about how many golf courses are out there. Like fucking the chemicals that they use and all that sort of shit, right, dude? Like,
and you can't even get started on stuff.
Right.
Well, here's another one with stagehand. When we have to cellophane, we call it shrink wrap. When you have to wrap the pallets, or like I worked at the warehouse,
there's so much waste.
We would have bulkheads.
Yeah.
So you have 2 bulkheads with wheels, and we would put all the structural metal posts and shit in the bulkheads, and so they're like 8 or I don't know, maybe 12 feet long, and it just wrap. And some people you have to be like, bro, like you don't have to use the whole roll. You have to secure the equipment.
And I've never seen a recycling dumpster on a dock of a fucking loadout or a
they exist,
load in,
but it's still.
But that that plastic's not making it in there.
When
bro.
you work at one warehouse, and then unfortunately picture how many are in your town, how many are in your state, country, world, and then countries that don't give a
that are in a third
fuck.
world situation.
And that's just one part of one industry that doesn't even deal in plastic.
Bro, have you ever seen where the cargo ships go to die? Sarah,
No.
This is something you can pull up.
I thought you were going to be like earmuffs.
It's crazy.
Like maybe she.
No, like it's in India or something. It's this beach in India, and it's it's insane, dude. They literally just like dry dock them onto the beach.
Sarah, don't pull it up. Don't
and then
ruin
they just
my
start
fucking day. No,
cutting. Yeah, they start just cutting like metal off, which is torches.
The ship cemetery?
Ship cemetery, yeah, maybe that's it.
Oh, man.
And is it in India?
Let's see.
Yeah, and along the way, it's up to your imagination how much you want to think about certain industries that you've never heard of.
Right.
That just waste or create
there's so much
such
of it,
bad
man.
things for the earth. And
Well, even like the beef industry to me is disgusting. I eat meat pretty much for every meal.
Sure.
But
and I don't
grosses me
necessarily,
out.
but yeah.
Yeah. And I will not eat grocery store bought beef, dude. Like I just will not do it. I can't bring myself to do it.
I actually I use a process, default process. I never really did it intentionally. I don't buy meat for my house.
Okay.
And we were talking about my fish business, tropical fish in the basement and stuff. So I do buy like frozen tilapia fillets and scampi shrimp for my fish. So sometimes I'll be feeding the fish and I'm like, these guys are eating so good. It's like 3 a.m. I'll be like, let me get 6 of these, go throw them in a pan and cook up the shrimp. But a really good way to minimize your meat, but not get rid of it. I don't think that we need to be vegetarians or vegan. I think that we should have those solid proteins and every food has something in it that something else doesn't have. So I think we should eat some meat, and if you don't, whatever. But like if my mom's cooking green chili and it has pork in it, I'm eating pork, but I don't have it at my house.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've found a lot of ways to get around it.
So you're just not buying it and bringing it home, right? It's almost like that alcoholic theory or...
Sure. Yeah, no need to have it in the house. That's another thing. I don't drink much at home.
Yeah, I don't either.
I
drink more in here than anywhere.
I bet you do. I'm going to make sure of that.
Yeah.
No. Still got to drive down the hill.
That's a good theory. So. And mine's completely different. Like, I don't buy it from the store. I buy it from a third party. Like, I've been using a Colorado craft beef if I want beef.
Yeah.
And it's an actual, like, they do the entire process at their ranch. You can go to the ranch and fucking visit it. It's just in Akron.
That's really the best way any of us should eat is like know where your food's coming from. Because the packages, most packages lie. Oh. I mean, if you read into the packages, they're like all natural and this, that, and the other. But if you really look at it, like with chickens that say free range, they have that one documentary where they're like, we need to have only a smoking section size fenced off little spot on the whole fucking hangar for chickens to say cage free or free range. They literally like, and I say smoking section, like you have this giant nightclub and they have that tiny little door you go out where everyone smokes. Right. They have a tiny little spot that they can put on the package free range or no caged.
Yeah.
And then they're like, the chickens don't even like going outside. So they don't even use it. But to qualify, they only have to have like a 10 by 10 or 100 by 100 space for the chickens to go out if they want to.
Yeah, stay away from labels. And that's one thing that Jeff told us when he was on, and he's from the agricultural business. He's like, the more labels that are on it, he's like, honestly, it's the more bullshit that you're getting.
Yeah.
Because
they have to explain.
And I get bagged on for hunting all the time, dude. Like that's the only time I get death threats over this fucking podcast that has like a minimal audience, right? Like I'm no Joe Rogan. I'm no fucking, Jocko or anybody. Like I'm just honestly in here hanging out with my friends.
Right. Just trying to have a good day.
It's been great, but that is the only hate that I get, dude. Like I've gotten death threats about like fucking hunting because I'm open about it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not even showing any pictures. I'm a meat hunter, but I specifically do it for the meat, and there's something gratifying about knowing exactly where it came from, how it was processed. It's 90% of my diet.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
it's one of the problems in
those same people that
days
are pissed off about it will go down the street and order a cheeseburger or go buy fucking cellophane wrapped dyed beef, and bring it home or whatever. So
I always remember a story. It was like friends of a girl, and they were talking about how she hid meat in like the back of her refrigerator or whatever.
Really?
And claimed to be vegetarian or vegan.
But she was like secretly eating meat.
Yeah, we found it. And so you get those people. That's the unfortunate part is a lot of the people that cause
it's
problems.
It's a lifestyle, right? It's not an actual diet.
They're not even being truthful.
Yeah.
But they're causing war and pain and anger and distraught and all these things on other people, and you don't even know what they're doing behind closed doors
because
they're living a social media deal,
Right. And that's the thing about it that upsets me is I don't care what anybody eats. Eat whatever makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Eat what treats your body well. Treat your body like a temple, is kind of my philosophy. And I don't agree that all diets work specific diets work for all people, right?
Yeah.
I think it's to each his own. Everybody's different as an individual. And I think it's more about up here, dude. Like what makes you fucking feel good? What makes you get up in the morning?
Or what do you believe?
What makes you the clearest? Yeah. What do you believe?
Because most of it's belief. Like I personally, once you put the word diet in it, I'm out.
Right.
Like diet shouldn't be a thing, this diet or that diet. It's your diet. What you eat is diet.
Right.
Not a diet.
Yeah, that's how I think about it. And that's how I'm referring to it too. I'm not saying like the keto diet or the fucking, vegan diet or whatever it is, it's just like a diet should be up to the individual. It's what you're consuming.
Yeah. I was talking to my buddy Jared the other day. He's full on keto. And he was fairly heavy set. I don't know how heavy set he was, but he's always on it, and he's strict with his keto. And I'm just always laughing at him because I'm like, want some? Can't eat it. No, he's lean.
Yeah.
But I was like, we were just bullshitting. I said, oh, so you don't eat bread? And I was like, oh no. He said, yeah, but keto bread. And I'm like, so. Not knowing, I'm like, so what's the replacement or whatever? And he's like, well, it's gluten. And we both started laughing because it's just crazy. Like, no gluten. No, and then another person is like, I can't have this. I have to have gluten.
Oh yeah.
Like
I've had people too.
So yeah, I get it. Like some people are allergic to some things, or some people have chosen not to have them. So be it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to knock down someone's door like, they're in there eating fucking gluten.
Get 'em.
Yeah, like.
And that's how the vegans tend to be, right? And I'm not stereotyping them only. I'm sure that there's a ton of really awesome vegans out there that you could sit down with and they're just fucking
and they don't
good
care
people,
what you're
right?
eating.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, don't waste it offline, right? You sit there and talk.
Let's savor every second of it.
All right, so we're back. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We keep having tech. We need to upgrade the camera system in this motherfucker a little bit because we have issues every once in a while. But
yeah, and
it's
so
just,
we almost just got
all
in,
the knowledge,
and we almost just got into a conversation offline.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, get back on. It's too much.
Yeah. So what were you asking
Where'd
me?
we leave?
Downloads or something, right? You were asking me how many downloads.
Oh yeah,
we
like
do?
what's your average? I don't know if it's downloads or views or how many people are peeping this.
Yeah, I get asked that a lot, and I purposely kind of don't look at it because, number one, not that I don't want to have a big head. I've never had that problem really. I've always been kind of a humble guy, and like I've done a lot.
You can't say that though.
I've done a lot of I've done a ton of amazing shit, and I feel awkward sharing.
That
it
was
sometimes.
totally humble.
Or like talking about myself is hard, right? Like when I go back and listen to some of these, I'm just like, God, I'm so hard on myself, right?
Right.
And I shouldn't be. I'm just naturally that way, right?
You know what? Maybe not you, but everyone else should be.
Yeah.
Hard. Yeah. Be hard on yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, pat yourself on the back and give yourself a break, but
yeah. But not in a negative way.
No,
I don't think it's good. Like, hey, you sound like a fucking idiot, or like, because that's what pops in my head first.
Sure.
You know, it's not like I could have done better there.
Right.
Right. And like having that. But anyways, downloads. It was staggering because we just did the 100th episode, and it's crazy. Every episode I've watched it grow, right? Because we gain new listeners. We gain, a lot of our guests have followings. Like I'm sure people that know you or your following are going to come and listen to the show, and then they may listen to the next 12 or whatever, or they might listen to the next
because they
100.
liked it and they caught on and they're like, it's worth watching again.
So I've steadily seen it grow, and that was kind of my what kept me going at the beginning. It was like, okay, as long as this is growing, I'm gonna continue to do it.
Yeah.
As soon as I start to see it drop off, I'll quit. So I always watched it grow, and that was maybe for like the first 30. But then I found myself almost getting addicted to it, to where it was like, I wonder what the downloads are. I wonder what, and it wasn't good mentally to like go in and check it.
No.
And I started to kind of like, well, maybe I need to get this guest, or maybe I need to do this. And as soon
started
as
reading into it too much,
really fast, dude.
Yeah.
I caught myself really fast, and I was like, that's not why I started. I started it because of this.
Yeah.
How often do you get to sit down with a person, turn off your cell phone,
amen,
have them like right in your fucking ear, and have a conversation? We're locked in a room with a bunch of bottles of booze, good people. I got good people here helping me, only people that I want.
Yeah.
It's not like a producer saying, hey, you have to be here by a certain time. Because I've been in those environments too, where like the line of work that I work in, everything's scheduled.
Yeah.
Right. And even today, there was a little bit of up in the air with the schedule, but I was never worried about it once, because I was just like, it doesn't matter, bro.
And then the big topper is that not only do we have this conversation, like last night or the day before, I could have had a really meaningful conversation with one of my friends, but nobody heard it.
Yeah.
And that's okay too, but not the case here, because people are listening.
It's so cool. And that was another thing for me too, is like, I really enjoy this more than anything. I enjoy learning. I love learning about people. I love learning about my friends. So you and I would never sit down and have this conversation in the environment that we're in.
We wouldn't have the time.
I goddamn guarantee you we will do it in the future again,
That sounds
whether
good.
it's at a bar or something. It's a whole new way to forge a relationship. It's unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
Like there's something, you come out of here with more connection than you do going to sit at a bar, because there's a distraction. A hot chick might walk by. The bartender might break a glass.
Well, like I said,
or
it's only heard by you two or maybe the people around you.
Right.
And that's it. You've got hundreds or thousands, which you still didn't say.
And I try. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. And I try not to bring on, before I forget this, I try not to bring on people that are about that either, right? Like I try to bring on genuinely good people. I try to vet them. I either know them personally, or I know people that know them.
Snapchat.
Yeah. So, and it's crazy some of the people that we have reach out to us too, and I've just flat out said no.
That's great.
Right. But yeah, it depends on, I mean, obviously if we have somebody that's got a huge, like a couple episodes ago was Derek Wolf, Super Bowl 50 champion. He's got like this cult following of, you know, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people.
Sure.
Those crush it, right?
Yeah.
But then we retain some of that. So we've had people in here with absolutely no social media.
Yeah.
No sort of like, they don't even know how to run technology.
Sure.
I've had them sit across from me and we'll do 2,500 downloads, you know, now or
good.
something. And I only know this because we're looking for some new sponsors. So if you're listening to this and you want to sponsor the show, we put together a little deck that shows all those analytics and stuff. We just did the 100th episode and we did this whole blade giveaway, and it's a friend of mine. He's a former Navy SEAL and like has his own knife company, Half Face Blades, and shout out to Beto.
Half Face.
Yeah. This is his logo right here, actually.
All right.
But we gave away this awesome blade. Hey, Sarah, see if you can pull up our Instagram and we'll show Mike the blade that we gave away.
Yeah, let's do it.
But the coolest part about that is like the listeners that we have, I actually have interaction with them a lot online. And, you know, I didn't want this to be like a buy a raffle ticket. It wasn't a money-making thing. It was like a thank you for 100 episodes of you listening to us. So if you've subscribed to us, send us a screenshot, emails. It was a pain in the ass, dude. I had to manually go in and like look at all these emails and put everybody on a list. And we have a lot of first responders that listen to us.
Yeah.
We have a lot of outdoorsmen, a lot of former military, some active. And the dude that won this, when I hit him up, I was like, hey, dude, how's it going? You know, like, congratulations, you won the blade. He's a firefighter out of NorCal.
Nice.
And was just a super rad dude, like loves the blade. Like it couldn't have gone to a better person. And those are people that listen to us on a weekly basis. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't really care what the following is. It's more about those diehard real motherfuckers.
You're not really worried about the numbers. It's about who's listening.
Yeah.
Like as long as the people that are listening want it, appreciate it.
That's all I ask.
Or maybe it helps them.
Yeah. Because like, honestly, I'm not too concerned about it. It's more about, this sounds greedy, but it's more about what I get out of it.
Right.
That's why I do this, man.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and like we were talking with the long conversation that we wouldn't have had otherwise.
Right.
That's why this whole podcast thing became such a big thing. And
I think so. And I think people enjoy listening to it, myself included. I love listening to a podcast where it's just two dudes shooting the shit, or a dude and a lady, whatever, you know.
Well, and I think a lot of where that appreciation or hunger comes from, like myself, there's two accounts I have open that get paid all the time, and that's YouTube and Spotify, because I have my earbuds in almost my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten to where I almost can't go to sleep without, like I'll pull up Buddhist meditation or fill in the blank, but just music without words, some low flutes or piano, or maybe a little bit of like rain or birds in the back or something. I don't go for the full like forest sound or anything, but I literally unintentionally got to where probably 5 nights a week, maybe 7 generally, I
so good
put
for you.
on, and not with my earbuds. I mean, I'm not going to sleep on an earbud or anything, but it's cool. You can turn it down to where you can barely hear it, and it's just kind of there. And once you start getting tired, all of a sudden that music is kind of loud.
Mm-hmm.
And then you turn it down a little more. You just barely hear it. And then a lot of times when I wake up in the morning, it's still on. It doesn't interfere with my alarm.
Right.
And I get up and my eyes are open and everything. And then I realize that it's like a lot of them are 8 hours, or 20 or nonstop or whatever. But I'll actually be up and kind of getting my shit together, getting out of bed. And I'll be like, oh, it's still on. And that's when I realized that those amazing sounds that are so soothing, that guided my sleep all night. Not only did it help me fall asleep because it helps me forget about what I said to my mom, or, you know, the person that said something to me at work, or my rent, or whatever it is. And that allows me to just, that's what meditation is. It's not what you do, it's what you don't do.
Right.
And that music just quietly, it just helps me focus on not focusing.
Yeah, that's important, because I lay in bed a lot and I'm like, fuck, I got to do this tomorrow, that, boom, 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 right? It's constant, right? And then next thing you know, you can't fall asleep for an hour.
And that's why I bring up having that subscription to YouTube or Spotify or whatever platform you use, because you can't be falling asleep and listening to music and like, did you get your Geico today? You know, you just can't.
Yeah, those, you don't want
you can't have that
interruption, right, with the advertisement.
And for $10 or $15 for me,
it's so worth it.
Like another example, I live across the street from the lake. I don't go there every day, but for me to be able to cross the street and walk around the lake and just do that nothing.
Oh, being connected with nature is huge, man, I think.
Yeah, and it just, it's something I can't live without. And again, with the subscriptions, I'm bouncing around, but with the subscriptions, I get it where people are like, I'm not paying $15 a month for that, this and that. Myself, for $15 a month, to be able to have, whether it's Mac Miller or Alan Watts or soundscapes or whatever it is, and not have interruption, and be able to just,
so important.
You're washing the dishes, I'm cleaning fish tanks, you're vacuuming, you're whatever. Sometimes at work, on stage, thank you for letting me wear my earbuds at work. But sometimes I have like Buddhist flutes, and we're in the most hectic, grab that, bring it over here, you fucking drop that, this and that. And they don't know that in the background is, you know, and I'm just like,
You're zenning out.
Yeah, sure, grab that, and you know, and so that's huge for me, is just to have that away.
Have you tried
guidance?
Have you tried, back to the sleep thing? Have you tried the NSR yoga? NSRD? I think it's NSRD.
What is NSR?
So it's a it's called deep rest. And the whole concept is you're awake while you're doing it, but it basically is cleansing and decompressing your, I don't want to say cleansing, it's decompressing your nervous system. So you lay down on a pillow and it goes through a series of things where you notice different parts of your body.
So it's like electronic vibration.
No, it's like somebody's voice in the background. So we could easily record one in this podcast, and it'll be like, okay, you're laying down, get comfortable, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
Like, I don't want to go into the whole thing, but it'll tell you to focus on different parts of your body that you notice mentally, and you come back from it totally rested. They say it's better than this is another Andrew Huberman hack.
Sure.
But yeah, you come back from it totally rested. But also, if you wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep, to do this, it'll get you back to sleep, or it puts you in a deep. It's kind of the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where you notice, like, damn, this is getting a little bit louder or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool too, because it'll pinpoint it, and you can actually get better at it. NSDR.
I could go
Yoga Nidra.
Totally both ways with this. Because I have a hard time with guided, like. There's been times that I've tried to give friends or someone advice, and like, man, listen to some meditation music, like whether you're going to bed or whether you're, like I said, washing the dishes, whatever you're doing in life, like put that just in the background and then forget about it. And they maybe went in without me and they had guided, and they're like, how can you do that? And I'm that way where I can't do guided per se. Like, I don't want to, okay, now you're doing... No,
and that's the thing, is like, you do have to find the right one. Like,
but
for
I could
me,
see
guided,
how that might work, like hypnosis, right?
Yeah.
Like, those things work.
Well, it was funny. The very first one I tried, because I couldn't fucking sleep, I was like, all right, I'm going to fucking try this shit. I tried it, and it was a man's voice, and I was like, okay, this is just fucking weird, dude. And then I heard a female's voice, and I was like, okay, yeah, I could get used to this, you know, like.
And I get that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're new to something like that. like with massage, my massage therapist is a male. In my younger life, I'd be like, I ain't fucking having no masseur. Give me a masseuse, like fucking girls' hands, not guys. But once you actually get into what it is and you learn to receive it for what it is.
Yeah.
It don't matter who it is. Me and my massage therapist are on a level, and I can tell him what I need, or he knows what I need by touch. And having done massage for me for years now, there's times like moving down the legs to my feet, and I'll be like, you know, how did you like just touch the bottom of my foot or something? And it's like euphoric, what the fuck, you know, just amazing release, intention.
Yeah, and back to the NSDR, it's not only just like I'm discriminating against male or female, because I've listened to others with other females, and I'm like, no, this bitch has got to go, you know, like she's too like fucking zinned out, you know, it's like, So yeah, you got to find kind of, there's a ton of them out there, but but yeah, no, it's been good for me, and it's something, and to
I'll
help,
check it.
You know?
That's one thing for me. I will check out anything. I always say, I believe in everything, and that doesn't mean everything. Or no, I believe in everything, and that doesn't mean everything. Like try everything.
Yeah, try it once, right?
You know, and see, and throw out what you don't like, and keep what you do.
Yeah.
And I go that way with religion and belief systems and things like that.
That's a great outlook to have, honestly, man.
Yeah, because
it opens your mind to so many different things, right?
When you say I'm this, that means you're not any of the other things.
Right.
And so then if someone says, "Hey man, have you tried?" and you're like, "No, I can't do that because I'm this." Why? Why do you have to be something? Have you ever tried being nothing?
I've had that outlook my whole life, and I'm very fortunate that I feel like I do, because I know a lot of people that pigeonhole themselves, and they're like, nope, that's stupid. I don't believe that.
It's horrible.
You know, yeah.
It's horrible. I mean, the best thing you could learn is what you don't know, something you've never heard of, something you've never seen, something you've never, you know?
Yeah, no. And that's another thing that I get out of this podcasting, you know? So
yeah,
I'm ready for the Mike V podcast, bro.
Yeah.
So let me know when you want to find
Alien Vision.
Alien Vision. Yeah. Do you have a fascination with, you know, Encounters of the Third Kind or aliens or whatever? I mean, what do you think about all this new bullshit?
I think I've gotten to where I don't know if it's really feasible that aliens are flying around. And I think that's where a lot of kind of the info is going. Like with the Joe Rogan thing, it's like you want so much to believe that it's real. You're like, come on, like.
But there's never just enough evidence there to like conclusively prove it. But we're getting closer, I feel like.
Or whatever it is being revealed, whether it's on Earth or.
Right.
I've never seen anything in the sky where I have a story and I say I have, and I know a lot of people, they're like, I've seen a bunch, you know, and I'm like, just one. I just want to see one definitive thing where I'm like, I know for a fact, but I haven't.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much where I'm at. I think it makes sense. You know, you've maybe heard people with the knowledge, quantum physics or whatever it is, where they're like, there's this many stars, there's this many galaxies. It's actually less reasonable that there isn't other life in the universe.
Right.
By the numbers.
That's crazy. Like
there has
some
to
of those
be.
Photos
really, there has to be.
Some of those photos from that new James Webb telescope are fucking mind blowing, dude.
I haven't seen that.
So cool. My buddy Justin Freeman, he's another
James
Webb. Yeah,
James Webb.
It's a new telescope, right? And it sees like further than fucking anything we've ever had. And they just launched it like in the last year, I think.
Oh my God.
But anyways, my buddy Justin, he actually wrote the theme song for the podcast, and he's a, you know, metalhead, fucking just an awesome dude.
Yeah.
Incredible person. But he's super into astronomy. and he got me into it. Like that's kind of what he picked up during the pandemic when like touring and all that shit stopped. He was like, I'm doing a deep dive on this shit. I'm going to figure out what the fuck is out there.
Right. Been wanting to and haven't.
Yeah. And he's just got all this crazy knowledge, but it's pretty
Can
incredible.
You pull up,
like
Sarah, you pull up what is
it's
telescope? I'm not familiar. I want to see some
look
shit
up like photos from the James Webb Telescope, and we've looked at this before. You should go back and check out Justin's episode, the last one. We've done multiple with him. So this one scientist.
Oh my God! Come on.
This one scientist was like, because only one person can control this telescope at a time, right? And point it where they want it to fucking go. So this dude's been waiting for like however long the wait list is, right? For all these scientists. He's
his whole career.
Big scientist, right?
Because it didn't exist.
Right. So he's finally waiting, and he's like, okay. And I think that this was the telescope before the James Webb, right? So anyways,
that is so descriptive right there.
The Hubble telescope.
Right.
So he finally gets his moment, right? And there's a group of technicians that have to run this thing, right? Like it's multiple people. Like it's like
so you have multiple technicians, but only one person can point it.
And this dude's like, hey, I want you to point, because all they were doing was going and taking pictures of just stars that they could see, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's go look at that star. So one scientist
they weren't looking for what they couldn't see.
So he pointed it into the nothing, and they're like, he's like, I want you to take a picture, and they're like, sir, excuse me, you're wasting our fucking, you don't
have anything
war
targeted
type thing, and they're like, you don't have anything, and like, what are you? Are you out of your fucking mind?
And he's like, that's my point,
bro. I think go to that James Webb Telescope, scroll over two more. Yes.
I can't believe what I'm already seeing. Like
I think this is what they saw when they took a photo of the nothing. Like it was just all these vast stars and infinite, like it is fucking mind blowing, dude. And Justin knows so much more about this, so I'm totally, but he's probably rolling over right now listening to this. Like, what the fuck are you like? You're totally fucking it up. So we got to get Justin back.
We don't know.
That's the one right there. JWST.
And
good job, sir.
That's the actual photo or capture.
So like,
and that like those big blasts.
That's the nothing, dude. That's the nothing that we can't even see.
And the small ones are galaxies.
Yeah.
And then there's the big shit.
Yeah, you can't tell me that.
Who knows?
Who the fuck knows?
Those are bigger than galaxy. Like,
right.
You know, it's cold directly off the sun. Like the space right off of the sun. I don't know what the measurement is. But the sun can't be hot to anything unless something is there. The material is
so like
there
a diffuser or something
to receive or deflect or
transmit,
absorb.
Maybe? Okay.
Transmit would probably be a good way.
Yeah.
And so space, it's just cold.
Yeah, that's wild to think about, but it's
not hot right
It's
there.
our atmosphere, so the light rays coming through the atmosphere that actually heats it up.
Whatever, everything about the Earth and the crazy.
Dude, there's so
outside.
much to learn. You know what's so cool is my 9-year-old son's into all this sort of shit, so he's teaching me shit constantly, and we let's learn together. You know,
yeah,
like he's all about it. So,
how old is he?
9.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mine's
fucking super rad.
My son's 18 and he works with me in the union with stagehand now. And he actually did the work and then decided that he loved it. And I was like, you're fucking kidding me.
Really?
Because,
it's gratifying work, man. Like we've all been there. There's my favorite thing about working construction or building something with my hands was seeing the result, right? And
absolutely.
You can see the result within 4 or 5 hours, you can build a fucking goddamn mountain inside of an arena.
And at the beginning,
stadium.
you can ask people, what are we doing? And they'll be like, just don't worry about it. It's rare that you even have blueprints, diagrams. Right. You're just putting shit together. And you're like, I didn't know that it was going to be a fucking spaceship or, whatever it was. Or you go to tear down the show and you come in before the show's over and you're watching the show and you didn't see all the lights on and everything because you left with the sun out or something.
Yeah.
And then you're just watching the whole show and going, God damn, I did that.
Yeah. No, that's fucking awesome. It's gratifying
Sarah,
work.
did we see that picture on the full screen? I would love to.
Yeah, let me see if I can
make that bitch bigger.
Mike, you want another one of these things, or are you good?
I'm still working on mine with this fantastic Breckenridge vodka.
Selling it. If we get a sponsorship from them, Mike, I'm gonna give you a cut.
Deal. It's so weird to me that, like, when we see galaxies, how they're all flat in a sense, and it's just so weird that the universe is what it is, but these flat things, like, they don't go with the idea of space and the size, like the flat disc shapes of them, how they're flat, like they almost look unnatural, right? Like, you look at clouds don't make a mistake,
Right.
the aesthetics, they just fit, even if they're flat on the bottom and puffy on the top, like, they fit when you're looking at the sky and the sun and the ground and the mountains in Denver and Colorado, when you're looking at the sun going over the mountains, that looks so unnatural to me, like right there. Well, and that even, you can almost see like a circular.
Well, one thing to consider
around
with
that big star shit, whatever that is, it's actually all going around it now that I look. That almost makes more sense of the galaxies. But like this, I almost took my shit out. Like this, that makes more sense.
Right.
If it was like global, round.
If it was round,
but
like
when
a
they're
sphere,
flat,
right?
I'm just like, how? I don't get it.
Now, some of this could be the camera stuff, right? Because, like, I know because I've taken starscape photography, right? Like, photography is one of my jams. Like, that's what I enjoy to do. And so you do like a long exposure. So have you ever seen those photos where like a car's going down the road and you can see the trail of the tail lights?
Sure. So you do the long exposure where you have to leave the aperture open long enough to get it.
Especially on something like this where you're shooting into the nothing. Like, so you know what the stars look like here in Colorado when it's mind blowing, right? Like, to see them at altitude, and if you're at 14,000 feet, like camping, it's a whole nother world, right? You can see so much more because you're that much higher or whatever, right?
There's so much less light pollution.
Yes. And then with a camera lens, you can open the lens, or you can take a photo for 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And it'll show you the Earth basically spinning. So, Sarah, if you go to earthironsociety.com.
So you see the whole smear.
Yes. Yeah, so that's what some of those light trails might be. But yeah, I'll show you one of the starscapes that I've taken. And the night that I went out and took, I think if you go to Society.
This is your...
this is my fine art. Go down to that barn right there.
Now, when you say fine art, these photos I'm looking at.
Are you making fun of me?
No, I'm saying, are those all your...
These are all mine.
You took all those photos?
Yes.
Sick.
Yeah. Sorry, Sarah. Go back to... That's another barn. Barns are intriguing to me for some reason.
Some of those places look like they weren't anywhere near...
No, some of them are like, that was in upstate New York, which is fucking crazy. But the night one, Sarah, see the halo? So this is a starscape, right?
Yeah.
And I took this in a long exposure. It was fucking pitch black dark. And this is just the way that it came out. But I didn't see that many stars there.
Absolutely.
But my camera lens picked up that light source. So that's how many stars are actually fucking out there.
And you can't see them with your eyes.
You can't see them with your eyes. Because your eyes aren't open, or I guess it registers to your brain too fast. Light does, or something.
Well, right off the bat, your eyes aren't that good of an instrument, regardless of what your brain can acknowledge.
Sure.
That actually brings up, again, Alan Watts, as well as, I was just thinking, DeGrasse, Tyson.
DeGrasse Tyson, or
Tyson? Where our eyes our
Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's
yeah,
what it is.
our eyes
Thank
and
you,
our
Sarah.
ears and things like that are receptors or apertures. Again, with the sun is not light until there's an eyeball
Right.
to turn it into light.
And it's wild too. Like a camera lens was designed around an eyeball, right? Like they basically dissected an eyeball, I think, to figure out how to figure out.
That makes sense,
Right?
So
And snap a photo
you have a camera that takes a picture, and it looks different than the way you saw it. It's because there's two different gauges of what that was. So what is the actual color of anything?
Right.
If you take this camera, take a picture, take that camera, take your eyes, take my eyes, take
it
Sarah's
can
eyes,
change the color.
those
right?
are different pictures. So what is it?
Right.
And that's why I brought up Alan Watts, where he says basically the same thing, is that it depends on the equipment or the receiving end.
But the coolest part about it is that with that photo that I took, the one I was just showing you,
yeah.
that is reality. There's like very minimal editing to that. Like that was what the photo turned out to be.
But that's
kind of one of my
only
sticks.
reality to that instrument.
Correct. So what else is out there?
If you would have taken that instrument and taken that quick of a shot, it wouldn't have been that.
Oh no, you would be the photo would be completely black.
So what's the true setting of your camera?
Right.
The quick setting that wouldn't have caught any of that? Or what if you would have left it on for another day and a half?
Yeah. Oh,
What's
totally.
real?
Yeah, exactly.
Now we're getting into what I like to talk about.
Yeah, that's the shit, Mike.
The
that's
weird
a good perspective.
I love the weird shit like that. Like, what is real?
Yeah. Back to Andrew Huberman again. This is another thing. So like part of like resetting, or like if you want to think about the human brain and the eyeballs in a photography sense, one thing that I picked up from him, and I can't remember exactly where it was at. I think it was when he was on Jocko Willing's podcast. Just a simple, like taking a deep breath, like fill your lungs as big as you can.
Yeah.
And then exhale it out to where there's absolutely nothing. It widens your field of view. So I started applying this to archery. I'm a bow hunter.
Okay.
And I had my son apply it to football. He's a DN.
Yeah.
And you just take this, like, if you take a huge breath in before whatever you're doing, if you need a wider field of view, and you look at or if you simply are outside and you look at the horizon, like in that photo behind you, it automatically widens your field of view.
So you're, so it'd be less peripheral.
More peripheral. So it'll be, so it widens your scope. You can see more, right? And what do most people do with their phones?
Stare right at them, right?
But if you just lift your head up, look at how much.
Well,
more
and
you
they
see.
say that even though, like, when you look just out, you feel like you can see this whole room, but really you only focused on a small amount, and the rest of it is just kind of
filler, right?
Yeah, it's kind of perception, if you will. Like, you know, you're in a room that's this size, and so it all feels normal, but you can't really see any detail much more than like me talking and seeing your face. That's pretty much
right.
The rest
and
of
that's
it's just
one thing with like this deep breath. Like if you need to focus on something that's quick reaction, like a hunting thing, or my son is hunting a quarterback or a fucking wide receiver or whatever, a running back.
You get that oxygen in you. That good old.
And it's fucking amazing what it does, you know.
I just pictured like Theo Vaughn.
I love that.
On
dude.
like, that oxygen, you know, you just get up on that oxygen life. You know, he would say some bullshit.
It's a bucket list, Theo. If you're listening to this, you're welcome on the show any fucking time. I would love to have you.
He could stay in Aspen.
Yeah. Fuck. He could stay right up the road. Evergreen's cool. Right. Yeah. Bert Kreischer stays up here.
So I want to stay up here.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Hell yeah. Come up anytime, man. You're always welcome.
I feel like we bounced around.
We did. So like going back into like, because I always kind of view, you're a fish guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what that entails because I've never really, I don't think I've ever had a fish tank. Maybe I did as a kid or something, right? I've always been fascinated by saltwater fish, spending time in the ocean. You know, I lived in Hermosa Beach for almost 20 years, and my getaway there, my therapy to get into nature
It's the water.
Here was the mountains. There was getting out like past the break and stand up paddle was just like so much connection, so much sea life, so much to see. You're out there. There's a bit of risk to it, right?
Sure.
Not a ton, but like,
sure.
Yeah. So it's kind of that adventure mindset. But so I've always been intrigued with like saltwater tanks, and just because of the fish that are in it and all that sort of stuff. And fish to me are a little bit of that other world, right? Like there's so much that we don't know about. Like
it's the opposite.
Yeah. So we just had Vince Bichelle in, and we were talking about sharks, and I learned about the cookie cutter shark, and like, it's fucking crazy. It's like a parasite of the ocean, right? But it basically drills holes and whatever. Like it'll kill a great white. It just takes these perfectly round circles, and it lives like in the dark, and it only comes out at night. But there's been people that have been attacked by them too, and shit, dude.
I've never heard of that.
It's wild. It's mind blowing.
Cookie cutter shark.
Yeah.
Something new every day.
Yeah. But who thought I would be teaching the fish guy about fish?
Right.
But you're a freshwater fish guy, right? Like when we were talking about it.
Yeah.
And this is your business now, right? Like this is.
Well, so it was my business.
Okay.
At one point, I made it happen. Like a lot of things in my life, I look back on it and I'm like, how did I know even how to do that or have the gumption to start a business from nothing and actually bring it to fruition and be 100% on the professional side with just passion, with no high school education, really.
Yeah.
And then no business education or anything like that. Just going off of instinct and saying, this is what I want to do. And I think that's probably the best way to do things is just whatever you love, just do it. Just, you could talk about it. You could talk about other people doing it. You could talk about what somebody else said or did, but whatever you love, just do that thoroughly. And it just becomes, before you know it, you look back and say, wow, I did that.
Well, and I think not sitting around and talking about it, right? Like when I was like, I think I want to start a podcast, called a really good friend. He has multiple successful podcasts. And I pitched him my idea, and I was like, what do you think? And he's like, why aren't you fucking doing it right now? Was his reply.
Why are you talking about it and not doing it?
And boom, here I am.
So as far as the fish, I had fish tanks when I was a kid, and I grew up pretty much at my neighbor's house. A friend that was about my age and a brother that was older that was a biker dude, and he has a lot to do with who I am and the way I move. Mm-hmm. They had fish tanks, and it was like you didn't just have a fish tank in my bedrooms. I would have wall to wall, like a fish tank next to a fish tank next to a fish tank, and if I could have them in the middle of the room, I would. But then you'd have electrical cords and stuff, so it just made sense that they're on the walls. But it would be wall-to-wall fish tanks, and it was never enough. If you had 10, you needed 12.
Right. So a bit of an addiction almost, yeah?
Yeah, and it was even just the food. Like I would have 100 different foods to feed him. It was the intrigue of all of it.
There's a bit of science behind it, right?
And
then also having animals around, right? Like, one of my favorite things to do is go out and take photos of elk.
Yeah.
Especially during this time of year because the bulls are fighting and there's a danger element a little bit to it. And
and by learning how they live, then you learn about what you want to investigate or know about them and how you go about it, because then you're like, okay, these animals breed this way, so you know when to go find what.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of the end result with the fish in an aquarium is you get a group of them and then you watch male and female pair off, and then you watch that activity. So you want to set that environment up where they're most comfortable according to that species genus. Then you get a pair that separate themselves. And with a lot of fish, especially cichlids, people will know this term. It's CICHLID, cichlid. Cichlids happen around the world, and a couple of the specifics that separate cichlids is they parent their young, and they change color when they breed. So you might have this group of fish that aren't really very vibrant, but when you get a male and female together, all of a sudden they go from like gray to black and white striped.
Oh, cool.
Very vivid, and all colors. I mean, I could show you pictures of fish where when you zoom in on their fins and things like that, it just looks like they're painted with a brush. It's just amazing how these colors can come and go.
That's what blows me away about, like, not only the ocean, but just fish in general, or even if it's the shellfish or whatever, crabs, octopus are fucking mind-blowing.
Unbelievable. They can't be from here. They had to have dropped out of the sky. They're just those are aliens,
insane,
man.
And jellyfish,
it's unbelievable.
I have to say, because
jellyfish.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of research right now about how jellyfish, they live forever, and I can't really explain.
They live
exactly.
forever.
They have lived.
They have
like
lived.
millions and millions of years. Yeah, I mean, and if you look at them, you can see they're a very basic form. They don't have legs or necessarily eyes or anything like that, but they're super intelligent. We don't know how they do what they do.
It's another alien type creature. Like the ocean, it has so much mystique to it, and like I think we know more about space than we know about the ocean,
for sure.
right?
Or even the depths.
Yeah.
Like we know millions and billions of miles, but we don't know.
When I was in Norway, it was a fucking amazing festival. I can't remember the name of the city, but I was up there, and it was the festival weekend that we were at. I was out with the band. We had a day off the next day, and it was Dahmer Summer up there. And it's like a Viking holiday.
Okay.
I think, and I'm probably screwing this up, but it's kind of like a Vikings independence, or when they decided that they were going to go rape and pillage or whatever it is. Like, I don't know.
Good times.
Fucking badass holiday though. So, you're super
the
far
celebration.
North. The celebration. So you're super far north. It's in the summer months. And the whole kind of it's incredible, man. It's like going into like Glacier National Park everywhere, right? And there's all this World War II history. Like, it's super incredible. Like, we were going into these bunkers, and like where U.S. soldiers had carved like love letters to their girls, and like the pillars, and like just all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And just the Norwegian people are fucking awesome people. This festival we were at, like, it was back when I was younger and single. Me and my buddy were trying to find a brown-eyed, brown-haired girl, and we could not do it. Like,
wow.
And I'm talking hundreds of thousands of people, dude. It was fucking mind-blowing.
I was gonna say I would have been bummed,
right?
But maybe not.
Yeah, it was like finding, remember those Waldo bucks when you were a kid? That's what it was like.
Not
it was
a
like
trace.
You could not find a woman that was not blue eyes, blonde hair.
Crazy.
It was wild. And you might have found a brown-haired one, but she had blue eyes, you know what I mean? Which was, but anyways, besides all that, met some incredible people. We were staying on this super cool place. It was old World War II. What the fuck was it? It was a plantation or something that the U.S. took over.
Yeah.
So there's all these old houses from World War II where the U.S. troops took over, and this is where they have the festival now. So like each green room or each band, if you're a headliner, you get the big house, and there's all these little like houses. So we had our own house to kind of like chill out at the festival. And then we were staying at this really cool like harbor hotel that was like, I actually took a photo of it. If you go back to Earth Iron Society, and just the fog that rolls in and everything. Anyways, we were up all night. If you go back to Society, Sarah, just to kind of paint the picture, But anyways, we were up all night. Go to the one with the boat right there. This is actually that hotel that we were staying at. So this is kind of the vibe. But I'm out there watching these jellyfish, and I swear to God, I wish I would have got a picture of them. They were the size of this table, dude.
Wow.
They were fucking enormous, man. Like half the size of that boat, it seemed like, you know? And I don't know if it was
10 feet or so. Like,
dude, they were huge. They were bigger than me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with their tentacles and everything, it was like, I'd never seen anything like that. Like I'd seen a ton in like the South Bay and stuff like that, but nothing like these jellyfish.
I don't know if I've ever seen them in the
wild.
I'm not big into the salt water, and actually salt water kind of freaks me out. Like it's a little too big for me.
Yeah.
But even if you like, if I was to go excavate fish from where I'm familiar with, like the Amazon and stuff, I'd probably kind of freak out with that a little bit too. Like the Amazon,
that's scary too.
It's probably so big in some
all the
areas
little creatures
where,
and insects and like trees that can
old,
kill you.
Big insects.
Yeah.
Big.
And not even little stuff like this. You know, the size of this pop top could fucking kill you. You know, like
or like little stuff that could swim up into you.
Oh, parasites.
Like that. Yeah.
Fuck, dude. I don't know. I like parasites. Yeah, and that's weird how nature kind of resembles that alien type mentality, you know, or traits to us, right? Especially the ocean. Like you go super dark deep and you start looking at some of those fish and like their eyes and some of the like, what's that one that has like the thing that like dangles off of it to like attract prey?
God, I know the name. It angler or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has like a little lure on the end. Yeah. Well, you know, if you think about it, any horror movie, creatures, it all comes from stuff that we already have.
Right.
You almost can't create anything that you haven't seen. You have
gotta have some sort of visual of it, right?
Or like when that big tsunami hit, like the unbelievable tsunami was like maybe 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they had all the fish that the earthquake under the ocean, it kicked up the bottom of the ocean, and they just found all these fish that we had never seen.
Really?
And they have the one, it looks like a blob out of the water, but it looks like a sad guy's face. Have you seen this?
No.
And the face of the fish, it's like if the fish is 2 foot long and a foot wide, like the face of it, it's like half of its body. There he is right there.
What the fuck?
And it doesn't look like that in the water.
It looks like a cartoon character almost or something, right?
Right.
Like of a human.
And that's real shit. You know what I mean?
Whoa. It's crazy. Like those crazy people that believe in mermaids. I don't know. Maybe they're fucking real. You think?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm gonna let my 4-year-old listen to this one.
Again, that's one of those things that, Sarah, go back one. I think that's a fish that would be in my field number 3. It looks like a bleaker eye. It almost has to be.
So yeah, how did you kind of fall into this? It was just like a passion for fish, and then you just went down a deep rabbit hole of like
it was
collector style, or
that's totally a bleaker eye or a pollen
cool.
eye. I guarantee. Watch Visit. That's an Oscar.
Oscars have some personality.
Totally.
I mean, they know who's coming in to feed them.
Yeah.
We had one growing up, and if it wasn't my dad coming in to feed it, he'd lay down flat on his side, all sassy.
Yeah.
Really?
We even tried to dress up in a white T-shirt and look like my dad to see if we could do it. No, he knew.
And it's amazing what they know. So, anyways, that we may not find other fish like that or the info, but that's a cichlid, and Oscars are cichlids. The word I brought up earlier. So, adolescent to teens, it was that whole just obsession. It was something that I did regardless of what else I did in life. At my house, in my bedroom, it was wall-to-wall fish tanks. And I had a notion at one point. I was with my girlfriend, who soon became my son's mom. and I bought a house. And along the way, I guess I kind of knew something about business, maybe from music or something, licensing and stuff. So I knew of a local wholesale dry goods warehouse in Denver. Again, I don't know how I found this information, but I went and got a retail license for a business, which therefore I could buy wholesale. And they would have deals like every week or every 2 weeks or once a month. And it would be like heaters or aquariums or food, chemicals, all the
so
different.
they're like, I'm sure that there are, because this is a huge business, right? They're like fish suppliers, and like,
well,
do they get shipped to you? How do you get, or you breeding them, or?
So like the wholesale dry goods business, you'll have either local places, depending on where you live in a state that doesn't have a lot of as much business, they may not have in-state stuff. Denver is kind of a hub in our area, having a huge airport, but like Wyoming has less people
and less people than Lakewood.
Right.
It's fucking wild, dude.
So they would have these sales for dry goods stuff. And back then I had a lot of hustles, I had a lot of money when I was young. I just always hustled, worked at nightclubs and did my little thing. So they would have a sale on heaters. I would just buy 12 or 20 or however many, and I would buy this stuff and I would just stuff it in this closet, or with fish tanks. I would stuff them in my basement. And I guess I had the idea that I was going to open a store, and kind of like my house now, I would set up a tank and I would get fish and put them in there, and I'd set up another tank, and I just kept doing this until I realized I have a fish store. And back then, this is 15 years ago or so. It was easier before the big 420 and before weed and all that. Like, you could go get a warehouse, or my fish store.
It's so hard now with real estate. Yeah.
My fish store, Mike's Killer Fish, was on Brighton Boulevard in a warehouse with different, not properties, but different businesses.
Yeah.
And there was like an art studio, an art gallery, different stuff in there. And it was kind of like what would be co-op these days, but we were all independent. And I just opened the doors. And at one point I had my fish tanks on and everything, and people would come in. I didn't have counters. And I think I had like this rolling thing with a register on it or something. I set it up first.
Yeah.
And back then we had newspapers. So I had the little Mike's Killer Fish, you bought your little clip.
Like in the Westward or something? Or,
yeah. No, it's like the Rocky Mountain News.
Okay,
It was the newspaper back then. And I just had a little like strip where it said, "Hey, come see me." And I remember having this one lady, she's like, "So do you sell fish?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're all for sale," But it just wasn't. It was grassroots. It was organic. It was just like, let's fucking put it together and see what happens. And at the time, piranha were legal, and it kind of goes back and forth. Say every.
So there's certain fish that are illegal. Or?
Well, yeah, there's some fish that, fish and plants, and a lot of natural stuff that you can or can't have in certain areas. Mm-hmm. Because they may take over.
Oh, like an invasive, like what's going on in Florida with fucking snakes, dude.
Right. Things like that. Or like, because we're cold water, you could have, say, back then, so piranha were legal. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense because you can't put a piranha in a lake here. It can't live through the winter. Even if it could live in the middle, like the peak of summer, it can't live through winter. Now, fish like Oscars, stuff like that, they're just so hardy. They might live through the winter, they're just, and they eat anything and everything that they come across. But they would basically piranha were legal back then, so I would have maybe up to 12 different species where people are like, wait, there's more than one kind of piranha? And there are a ton of different piranhas. They're piranha that get easily 12 foot in captivity.
12 foot?
I'm sorry, 12 inches.
12 inches.
Yeah,
okay.
I was thinking
like,
a foot. Yeah, I was thinking a foot, and then
it's the nightclub stories.
Yeah, but a black piranha is a solid 12 foot or more.
Dude, that's scary. Could you imagine getting eaten alive by those fucking
with
things?
Bright red eyes, like they look like Satan.
The Diablo.
Can you pull up a black? Well, I don't even think you have to put Sarasalmus is the species, but black piranha. They look like the devil herself.
Really?
Just kidding. So yeah.
You'd have to ask the devil how he identifies, though. I think.
Yeah. So there you go.
That thing is fucking scary, dude.
They're gnarly. So yeah, really it just came down to, I just turned my passion into a reality, and I had a fish store. Unfortunately, the recession came with a few bad things in my life about 08, 09.
Oh, fuck, dude.
I lost the only house I've ever owned, my son's mother in my life, which I kept my son Chance in custody. And so I lost my store, his mom, my house all at once. And the outcome of that was I opened Chance's Grill, sports bar and nightclub. Somehow I just turned all of those negatives into a positive. And here I was, a single dad with no mom in the life to help take care of him. But I opened a nightclub and just, it raged, So
that's fucking awesome, Mike.
That photo there, fishing for Amazon giant black piranha, that is a real picture.
Holy shit, the dude holding that thing is not little. That is like a 24-incher right there.
Now that's a pacu. It's what some people would call a vegetarian vegan piranha. It's a pacu. They sell them at like PetSmart, like this big, like an inch. And they don't tell people these fish. I've had pacu. Again,
they keep outgrowing the tank, huh? Like,
they get 2 or 3 foot in the wild.
Wow.
And a fish tank isn't going to stop that. It's funny. People would say, "Oh, well, you just keep them in a smaller tank." Yeah, like if you had an elephant, you don't just keep it in a smaller cage,
room, right?
It's
not going to grow very big.
It will just cause deformities and. So I don't know where that was going, but that picture was amazing. Here's another
so
fish
is
that I would
Mike's Killer Fish in business right now, Mike? And can people come and buy fish?
That's a great question. Like some of the other stuff we've talked about earlier, really at this point in my life, it's something that I've built back up in my home. I have a fish store in my room. Hopefully my landlord's not listening, because she said I can't have any fish tanks. They are all in the basement on concrete. And that's a really good place to have an aquarium or aquariums, because
control light.
Well, in basements you have floor drains where you'll just maybe have concrete. They're not on wood planks. Mm-hmm. They're on the concrete, and you have floor drains. You just, if something happened, it would just all go down the drain, and, so yes, I do have a fish store. It's not open for customers to just walk in my doors, but like I was saying, it's like other things in my life where you find the things that make you happy, and you use them according to how they apply to your life, how much time you can spend on it while you still have to make a buck.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I know when my life isn't going good and I'm not doing what makes me happy, because my fish tanks are all dirty. And I'm having these fish that I love maybe drop off, or something gets sick and I haven't been paying attention, where I could have caught.
That's crazy.
Where I could have caught something. And then I know when shit's on point and I'm doing all the right things because I'm in that room. and I'll spend, I'll come home and spend 8, 10, 12 hours in there, and I'll clean 9, 10 tanks in a row, and everything's on point. So I use it to my advantage for just happiness in life.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be selling fish, but I know I've done it before. And it's kind of one of those, like, you just keep those dreams alive. And, sometimes at work, I just want to eat a bullet, and
especially in that industry, dude. Like in the entertainment industry.
Yeah,
you're
just
with
like
some assholes.
And
man.
you work your ass off, and to just have people just beating you up. And it's that thing I can go home to, and I could put my Alan Watts in my earplugs or on the system and just get to work. And I always I compare it to washing dishes. It's not the whole sink. It's just that one dish.
Yeah.
It's just one dish. And once that one's gone, just like every day, it's now. It's not tomorrow. It's not yesterday. It's right now what you're doing. And it's that thing where
that's a great outlook, because I think so many people get caught up in the future or their past.
Past.
And they don't live in the moment because they're so concerned about the future or so concerned about the past. Yeah. And really where you need to be is
it's just
right here, right?
I know it's cliche to people when you say there's no yesterday, there's no tomorrow, right. There's only now. But if you allow yourself to grasp that, I don't really believe much in linear time. I think that's a way humans have learned how to use the senses they have, kind of like we talked earlier, where your eyes are only an aperture of what is. Same with
what you think reality is.
Of what you think, and they're yours. Yeah. And Sarah's or yours might be different apertures.
Or think about if you have a mental disability, right? Or maybe you're mentally ill or schizophrenia or something, dude.
Your meters don't see things the same as the guy next to you. So that's my way of with the fish and everything else. That's my way of just bringing myself to a center and enjoying what is right then. And just getting, like, when my arm is in that tank, and by the way, you can have your arm
in there.
They're so scared of you. I mean, when you look at the size,
you're right.
Like if you were a 6-inch piranha and something came out of the sky, literally through the clouds, and put its hand down on the ground next to you, and it was the same size as my hand next to a 6-inch piranha. Imagine that.
Right.
We don't even have that that's what we call God. That's why we make God so big.
Or go swim in the ocean and hang out with some great white sharks,
right?
Or a fucking
there
whale,
you go, or a whale.
That puts it in perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Humans are so out of their element in the ocean. We've been beating that up on the last couple podcasts, but it's fucking fascinating.
Beating up.
Oh, we've talked about shark attacks and what I used to do in the ocean. As far as, we used to call it harpooning, and we weren't obviously out harpooning stuff, but it was kind of like how surfing originated. Was these ancient Hawaiian dudes would go out and they were whale hunting, and they would stand on a paddleboard, and they had a paddle, or they stood on a board.
Yeah, you have to be in the water,
right,
out.
And they were chucking spears into these fucking whales, right?
Sure. Or whatever the animal might be that's under the water that you need.
Yeah, and then they would fucking ride it or whatever they would do, right, to get it, and then they would cut pieces of the meat off, put it on their board.
Take a chunk.
And then when they were coming back into shore, they would ride the wave in, like celebrating, right?
Yeah.
And then the tribe knows, hey, food's coming, right? And they're like, you're a fucking rock star, dude.
So
you're on stage.
On the crest. Crest of the wave.
And I don't know if this
cool.
is actually factual because we haven't been able to find any information about it, but I've had a bunch of old Samoan stand-up paddler dudes tell me this, right? Because when I used to surf in Hermosa, I would always make fun of those guys. I was like, you guys are fucking lame, man.
Right.
And then as soon as I did it, I fell in love with it because you can paddle out to sea. But one of the coolest things...
It always brings you back.
Yeah. One of the coolest things was going out while the gray whales were migrating down the coast. So just like going out to photograph bull elk while they're here, you know, only in September, October, maybe a little bit of November. They're only here
that
for 2
season
months,
where
right?
they do that thing.
Right. That season to go out and be able to paddle right up to them, and then you see the fucking tail the size of this room come out of the
There's
water.
nothing like it.
Bro. Or they swim underneath your paddleboard. Holy
and you
shit.
feel the movement of the water as well.
The rest of the earth stops. Your vision, sound, everything.
But do you feel the water move, or is that does that go unnoticed?
It goes unnoticed because they're under the surface.
Gotcha.
Right? So like, yeah, when they come out with their tails or they breach, it's just like a boat, right? If anything that's under the water, or a fish rises, a trout, right, to get a fly or whatever, you see that little ring.
Sure.
Same sort of thing. You're gonna get that little bit of whatever, but the ocean kind of naturally rolls.
The vibration.
My favorite time to go out was in the morning because it's just like glass. Once you get out past the break, the water's still, it's reflective, it's cleaner, it's clear from, like, I don't know if the night or the cold settles it or not having the sun. You know, maybe the fish are less active, so they're not kicking up as much.
By the moon.
Yeah.
Shit
Well, there's all kinds of different stuff, and there's different times to go out, like those kelp forests and stuff it's mind-blowing. There's, you know,
speaking of kelp forests and octopus, have you seen there's a documentary movie, I forget the name of it. It's something like My Friend the Octopus.
Yes, I have seen it. My kid, this is one that my kid
and he starts diving down with that one octopi.
He visits it every day or something, then he
octopus
pissed it off.
Or octopi.
Right.
But yeah, and he has that relationship. That's unbelievable.
And then he went a little too far with the relationship because he touched it or something.
He scared it somehow and it went away. And then he was like literally like he lost a lover. He was crushed. And he went back down, like I think it was a while after, like he let time go or something, and he went back down and had to find it and did, and it remembered him. Wasn't that a part of it?
That was such a cool documentary, and that's kind of what I was referring to with octopus. It was like the instantly change color. Like they can look like this like they could look like the American flag almost.
Yeah.
Like,
and you know what? There's another one I
wild.
think that is on, I want to say it's on YouTube. But it there's probably numerous, and you can look up something about the way octopus change color or something. They have like 3 different levels that are controlled by different neurology and their not even their brain. It's controlled on its own, so they can think and change colors separately without their brain, so that they can handle more shit.
God, they're
it's
so intelligent.
Unbelievable when you look at the layers. Like they have just black and gray, and that changes for certain things. Then they have texture. They can actually bring up points and like horns.
Yeah, I've
and
seen
bumps
that where they
on their skin, which is a
look
whole
like coral,
nother
right, or something, or
which
whatever.
is a whole nother process. And then they have like those luminescent metallic colors that come out, and it's just it's absolutely unbelievable,
dude. It's like
we probably still don't know shit about it.
We have no idea. Have you ever seen where they put them inside of like a peanut butter jar or a jar, and literally they trap them in there, they screw the lid on real quick, and it figures out how to get the fuck out within like, I don't know, it's like 30 seconds or something. They can spin the lid off of that. It's mind-blowing.
There's an account
so
of
smart.
An octopus that would open the top of the tank it was in when the people were not in the lab or whatever it was, and it would go out into other cages or other habitats or whatever and eat, and it would come back and close the lid.
Like nothing happened, dude. Like a cat burger.
You can see it getting out and doing its thing. And maybe even getting back to where it's at, but being like, close it so they don't know.
Fuck, dude. That's so awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's incredible, man. That's honestly why I love this connection with nature and just being out there and being out in it as much as you can learn so much. Like I was learning about hummingbirds the other day.
Yeah.
And they're one of the only birds that like they sing. I don't know how to explain this. I'm totally going to fuck this up. Go listen to Andrew Huberman. And I think it was Dane Jarvis or something's podcast. It was the most recent one that was out just a few weeks ago. But anyways, incredible. They were talking about how hummingbirds sing, right? As kind of like a part of their, to put them in the right mental state, to find food, to find mates, to...
Like maybe meditation?
They use vocals for a lot, right? Like communicating with each other.
Right.
But also how fast they fly. And they also use their wings for like the beat. So they're constantly singing, constantly making music.
Making sound and
right.
vibration.
So whether it's with their wings, and sometimes they even add drum beats in with their wings, like by slapping them together.
So they have separate, like if you were...
So they're doing percussion to the music, dude, like a tribal
with the guitar,
fucking yes, with the vocals or whatever. Like it's mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, there's just so many crazy creatures out there like that. But yeah, it's incredible.
That brings.
So I could see where your connection with fish and having that correlation, I think, is so fucking cool. Where it's like, it's a representation of how you're doing in your own state, because I think there's so many variables like that in life. And archery is kind of my passion.
Yeah. And
it's great for me mentally because it's a disconnect. I cannot do anything. I can't think about anything else while I'm shooting my bow.
That's right. Nor do you want to.
I have to think
You're
about the
so
process.
Engulfed in it.
I've taken it to a whole nother level, like a martial art, where I have to have like a mantra that I say. Like I've gotten that level of training, and I like to be precision about it.
Yeah.
And I can tell when I'm not, because I don't shoot enough, and then I'm not precision, and then I'm upset. That's kind of my little thing to like put me into like, okay, I'm okay. I was able to shoot my bow today.
Right.
Yeah.
And things like that, my fish, your bow hunting, all of those things are a form of meditation and do the same as what we call meditation, just like humming, singing, dancing, chanting.
Yeah.
People that pray. It's all the same. To me, it doesn't matter what you're saying, what noise you're making, or what you're doing.
It's your mental diet, right? Just like we were talking about, to each his own. Like different things work for different people, right?
Well, and it's getting away from the have to do and just living, just living for the moment,
so
and
important.
just being, just not having to put an expectation on yourself or have a goal. Meditating, for instance, if you're meditating to better yourself, then you're probably not meditating.
Right.
Meditation is for meditating.
For like not
for
thinking
only
about.
Enjoying whatever level you're on, whether you're on 1 or 1,000,000. It's just
I couldn't agree more.
No
with
outcome.
That.
You're not so that tomorrow is this. Right then, right there. There it is. Mm-hmm. It's just, and then when you're done, coffee, off to work. Like, let's go now.
100%. I think that you hit the nail on the fucking head right there. And I also believe that with connecting with nature. I think that there's no better way to connect with nature than actually just taking in the moment. Like, fucking put away your phone. Take your earbuds out. Listen to what's going on. Leave your fucking phone at home. Like with some of these new watches and all this shit, you can leave your phone at home. If you have an emergency, still might be able to call somebody, right? Or hopefully you're going to a really badass place that has no cell service and little human interaction, right? But I think that my buddy Mark Morris brought this up. Another musician brought this up. He's like, I just really hope that people are truly connecting. Yes, you're out there and you're enjoying this beautiful space, but like actually notice, like taking that deep breath, like we were talking about, widening your field of view.
Yeah.
And really just take it in, no matter what it is. Like stop it.
Realizing what you already have if you just
be grateful for what you have, right? Or be grateful for it, and just like stop and smell the flowers. Like, dude, I am not a flower guy at all. I'm the first guy to fucking walk right over them and stomp them over. They smell right? Good. Yeah, they do. And I made a post the other day on Instagram on my personal. I was just like, I don't stop and smell the flowers very often, but like when you're in the backcountry, and maybe it's just because I'm a Colorado kid, when you see a columbine, what it represents, and then there's the whole correlation with the school shooting.
Right.
You know, it reminds me of that a little bit, which is totally unfortunate. But it's just like, when I see one, I'll stop and take it in for a minute. Now, if I saw 100 a day, I probably wouldn't.
Right.
But they're kind of a rare
flower.
Then
you might start noticing the difference in them.
There you go. Yeah.
You know, like these smell different than the ones up the block, or
right.
Somebody sent you some and you're like, oh, these were from another area where there's different nutrients or whatever.
Super rad. Mike, dude, this has been a lot of fun. We got to wrap this shit up, bro. I fucking love you, man.
Right on.
This was awesome having you in here. And I can't wait to have you back, dude, honestly. So we're going to do this again.
That sounds good to me.
And podcast or not, let's fucking hang out.
Cheers.
But before we go, you can't cheers without drinking. Before we go, where can people find you? I know you're kind of limited on social. I mean, can people come and get fish from you? Like,
so I do a lot of rescuing, which I love, because like we were talking earlier, especially your chain stores, you know, your PetSmarts and Petco's and stuff like that, they sell a lot of fish that everybody people commonly know them, but there's no responsibility behind the sales. And so people end up with fish. Most people are going to know like Oscars, you know, they're really cute and they're really aggressive eaters. And so people love to feed them and stuff, but then they get about 8 inches or a foot long, and people get tired of them and they don't want them anymore.
It's a lot of work, right?
Yeah. Or I have people I come across that they've done it kind of like me in their life, and they have tanks all over the house, and maybe they come across sickness, and then someone will call and say, hey, we know about Mike's Killer Fish. Can you help us? And I'll go take 10 tanks out of a house and bring fish back to my house that are maybe not the best specimens because they weren't cared for and things like that. And I have to do that's what I pay into it, is having to deal with some of these things that aren't so pleasant. But what I'm getting at is I have a lot of aquariums and a lot of equipment that has been recycled and works just as good as brand new stuff. So I love getting someone to my house that I could say, hey, what kind of space do you have? Well, here's these different dimensions of tanks, and I might have a stand and a filter and all the things, and even maybe food and things like this. I could set somebody up with a full system for half or a quarter of the price.
That's awesome.
And then while they're at my house, they can look at all the fish I have, which I do a lot of breeding. So fish that I love and fish that I'm able to breed, then I have their young.
And so, check it out, dude.
Yeah, we definitely should do a podcast in my house, because I mean, we could do this for 8 hours at my house in my fish room. There's just so much to learn about them and about yourself through them. You know, a lot of times I'll have pairs that are breeding, and you can watch their activity and you can see how, oh, she's being coy, or how he's freaking out, acting like an idiot, trying to entice her. Like
just like the real world.
Yeah. Right? So it's all there. I have Mike's Killer Fish on Facebook, or you could go to Mike Villano at Facebook, Mike Alien Pimp Villano on Facebook. I don't do a lot of social media. I'm an old bird.
You're on Instagram though too, right?
But I don't even do it. Yeah. Like I can't.
Really?
I can't do the swipe. Just like
too much. Yeah. I got
But yeah, so I basically do by appointment. And I can always make time for people. I also, one other thing that I do is I can come out to your place. And
do you have
I'm
a website
reasonable.
or anything like that?
I don't.
Okay. Do you have well, that's not a good idea. Anyways,
the Mike's Killer Fish on Facebook is a good place to get a hold of me.
When we get done with this, like tomorrow or whatever, send me the link, and we'll put a direct link in the show notes. Like if people want to contact you for some fish or something, So wherever you're listening to the podcast right now, just open the show notes. We'll have a direct link to Mike's Facebook.
Yeah.
And you can contact him through there. There'll be a phone number or an email or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I love just even being able to offer people good advice. With a short amount of time, I could set someone straight on some misconceptions, and there's plenty of them. So I love to of, get through it with people and say, I see where you got this info, but let's clean it up a little bit and send you on your way with some good habits.
Super rad. Well, cheers again, brother.
Cheers.
This was a good time.
Very good.
I always enjoy hanging out with you. And
there's a first time for everything.
Connected, and I can't wait to come down to the place and check out some fish.
That sounds great.
I might need to have you set me up. I've always wanted to have trout in captivity, but I don't know if that's a thing or not. We'll talk off there. Yeah.
You have a tank back here behind your guy.
That'd be so fucking rad.
Yeah.
That'd be rad.
Right on.
Sarah, how we doing over there?
Doing amazing.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for listening. Mike,
thanks.
Love you, brother. See ya.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. Also, if you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com.